All right, welcome back to Finding Truth, everybody. Here on Unscripted Truth TV on YouTube. Logan here with Austin as usual. Got a little smirk action, got a little stash action going on, just in celebration of another absolute banger of a call, and it's a double call too. So you don't sit here and rest on your laurels. Oh yeah, it's obvious the outcome of this race. It's maybe obvious as for this year with the narratives that they've propelled. I'm talking about NASCAR as of course, but yeah. Moreover than just the winner, we also called the winner of the playoff race winner. So we'll talk about that, and when I say talk, I mean just gloat and carry on and on about our greatness. No, I'm kidding. But besides the NASCAR race, an interesting topic that we wanted to cover, something that we've kind of hit on briefly, but it was always in the context of like world events and things of that nature that kind of shaped our discussion on it. We want to bring health, just general health, have an episode about that because we really want to get the community involved about it's one thing to talk about things that have a lot of speculation to them, and not that health doesn't have a lot of speculation to them, but I mean, if you're talking about secret societies and things of that nature, people can give their little inputs here and there. That doesn't really, there's nothing you can really generally apply from that knowledge. Knowledge is good no matter what, but certain knowledge is better than other knowledge. And when it comes to the best kind of knowledge you can have, it's probably that of your own body, or how the body works, and how to fix it, and how to prevent it from needing to be fixed, and things of that nature. And so what I say, it's like a community discussion, because it's just like everybody has a different walk of life. I might, things are localized as well. It's just like I can only imagine that the people in South America have a completely different take on health and wellness, in their day-to-day lives. That if if they were to get our information, and we were to get their information, we can make this a more you would just add to the pool of knowledge and references that we could have to understand, like I said, how to fix ourselves and how to keep ourselves from needing to be fixed and things of that nature. But when it comes to health, it's just like, give us your guys' anecdotes, give us your guys' suggestions and things of that nature. What did you grow up with? Do you have family secrets? Not family secrets in that way, but I mean, secret remedies and things of that nature that, don't just take them to the grave. Don't just take like knowledge to the grave with you. We're here to share knowledge. We're here to, build a community. And like you said earlier, health is wealth. And I'm not talking about, monetary wealth, because you can't take that stuff with you. You can bury yourself with all your gold coins all you want, but a couple hundred years later, you're going to get a vigilante digging you up, defiling your corpse, and selling off your cash. But anyway, that was weird. But yeah, so health will be the discussion on the second half. I think it'll be a slightly shorter episode than, or around average, but on the shorter side. Keep it short and sweet. But unlike my intro, we'll keep this episode short and sweet. How's it going, Austin?
Yeah, here we are, October already. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's just amazing, to sit here and call this stuff for as long as we've been calling it with NASCAR and this week and stuff. It's kind of been I don't know, like Kansas race last week kind of was that was eventful and stuff. It was wasn't really a great week overall. It was kind of, well, like Tuesday I felt really good. I went to the gym and stuff, and I was feeling really great. And like around 2 p.m., like I kind of started coming down like this cold out of nowhere, and I've kind of been dealing with it ever since. Like yesterday, it just still felt like crap, and like even my stomach was bothering me, so I didn't really leave the house or nothing. But today I'm starting to feel better and stuff. So I've kind of been dealing with that all week, and still kind of, I know I've been brought up a couple times too. I've been like dealing with like a shoulder problem and stuff, some other things. So, like stuff that I thought it was, a good topic for tonight, talking about health and talking about the body and just stuff like that. Cause I think it's more, um, stuff that I know. And the way I kind of, take care of myself and then the things that I know and I do. And then I run into problems and I've had a lot of, ups and downs with stuff like that in my life with health or injuries or sicknesses or whatever. Just, there's so much to talk about with that. And it's kind of been that way all year. It's been a very just kind of up and down, inconsistent year. Things are, they go well, then you feel great, then this happens and, recover and then something else. And it's, you're doing well again and something else comes and you think you're all good again, then something else will come. So it's just kind of, I think that'll be a fun topic, or at least a very worthy, somewhat open discussion about that. And maybe add in a couple other things too with that. I'm excited for that. But yeah, other than that, it was kind of just an all right week. Weather's still pretty good. I know it's going to be good the next couple days. So probably get out and do some running and stuff and maybe hit up the trampoline park this weekend and kind of get back into the flow and things and just kind of just work on my body and stuff. But yeah, just kind of that's what it's been kind of on my end and stuff. But yeah, I think that'll be, we're already, episode 55 and we've been talking about, NASCAR for quite a while now. We've been, talking about since February, since the Daytona 500, a month from now, it'll be 4 more weeks and it'll be the last race this season. And then, that'll be the end of NASCAR on November 2nd. So, we'll have, November, just a month from now, we have whole free stuff to kind of open up and talk about. So maybe, talk about and think about, different structures for the channel and things to talk about and, just kind of the layout process of the episodes and stuff that we were kind of doing before we got into NASCAR, which is kind of like I'd say like our first 20 or 21 episodes. Like our first like 10 episodes are really good. We talked about a lot of different things and open-minded topics and just kind of things we wanted to talk about. So it'd be kind of maybe more like that, maybe a bit different, maybe a bit more divided up to like 30-minute segments or something. And, maybe get some people's feedback on stuff with that as well. Maybe what other people might like to see or hear, what they have in mind possibly. So I'm interested to see if we get any feedback on that from people. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it was just another week that we absolutely slammed and called from, far out. And, we've had that this year and it's really came down to, just the way this year is played out. Back in like June, at SVG in the 88 car getting the wins. And I think I forgot to mention last week that, this race would fall with 88 days left in the year. I know last week I mentioned, there was 95 days left to go in the year. I mentioned that a few times. It was 33 days till Halloween. I did mention that a few times and last week's episode, but I think I forgot to say this week there'd been 88. So that was a big thing with
a commenter had your back, or actually an emailer had your back. Another great email was left by one of our subscribers. So some, shout outs to everybody who's kind of stepped it up. It hasn't been a crazy amount, but the ones that have, we really do appreciate it, and it's great to see you guys reaching out. It's as simple as emailing and just kind of putting your foot out there, and it's been good to see some more feedback and community outreach. Just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to all the people that, that do enjoy and appreciate, what we've been able to do with NASCAR. Cause I mean, what we've done this year, and especially lately, has just been unprecedented. I mean, we've called race winners who would be in the playoffs, who's getting eliminated each week. I mean, we've been 100% accurate. I mean, when we've been calling these, big calls, at the playoffs, you've been 100% who'd be in it so far and who would come down to. And, and since, these SVG wins and kind of being tied with Zilich, at the hip with that 88 car and how he won yesterday, and the 88, it's the 88 again today. SVG, doing it again, this is what we talked about. And again, we called, after that the first 2 wins of the year were kind of like with him. It was like, okay, the first one was like, all right, second one was like, once that happened, it was like, all right, I bet, Sonoma, he's probably going to be the favorite or dominate. And that's exactly what happened, just a complete total domination. And, that's exactly what we got at Watkins Glen as well. It's another complete total domination to get his 4th straight win at the road courses. And then, we've been calling these out, we were calling out, hey, August, we got the Glen coming up. And, then we were calling, hey, October, we got, the road course in the playoffs and SVG. And here we are today. And it's, 5 straight top 2 qualifying efforts, 3 poles in a row, 2 second places in a row, and 5 straight wins, and now just 1 away from tying Jeff Gordon next year. And then if he wins 2 more, he can beat Jeff Gordon with 7 in a row. He can do that all next year. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out when the time comes. But yeah, it's this was a week that we was very anticipated for a while. We were looking at this week, and had a lot of input into it from a lot of different angles, and it's the way the race played out and shaped up overall. SVG again, just another dominating performance, another huge win, like 22nd, win where he's just light years ahead of the field in competition, and nobody can stop him, and literally was able to preserve the car where you didn't have to even make extra pit stops at the end just to stay out, and other people having to pit because their tires are junk and coming apart, and he's able to outlast the field that way. Even it's just it's absolutely unbelievable. And then just the way, all the other stuff that happened, during this race, with, the drama of the playoffs, the elimination round, Logano making the cut, Chastain, not being able to, and, how even that played out was very interesting too. Just Chastain having multiple, just even watch the interview he did after the race. He's just like, yeah, it was all me. I mean, there's no one to blame myself. I mean, literally was leaving pit road and literally just stopped the car. I mean, I've never seen anybody do that, just leaving pit road and just stopped the car and just went straight and didn't even bother to turn. And then had another time where he was speeding on pit road. And then there was another time as well where at the very end of the race, that last lap, he just had to hold off Denny Hamlin and he would have made the playoffs. Hamlin got by, and it would have been a tie between him and Logano would have won the tiebreaker. So it would have been, it would have went to Logano. So he had to try and get back by Hamlin. He dive bombs that last corner and, bounces off the wall, gets into Denny Hamlin. Then they both spin out, and Logano ends up finishing right in front of him. And, he ends up, slamming it in reverse and driving backwards across the start finish line. But, yeah, just just everything in his power to basically kind of lose this race on his own, like he said. The other people, I mean, Bubba Wallace wasn't a factor. Reddick wasn't even a factor, even after being on the pole. I know his teammate Gibbs was up there too, but he wasn't really a factor in the race either. So him and Reddick just didn't do anything. And then you had Cindric, he got taken out in a wreck, but he really wasn't a factor at all either. So it was really it's just kind of a Ginsburg domination, really. And there was people that were able to, Larson was able to kind of, get by him at times, and same with Christopher Bell and stuff. And there was some racing for the lead at times, but, it's just amazing, like all the stuff I'd watch happen in the 88 car. And it's just, he was able to, not spin out or get wrecked or blow tires, and just have, it seemed like almost infinity tire wear. And just, and it's, of course, he's been in, the safety culture car when he won, with all that stuff down there in Mexico. I thought that was very interesting. We talked about that when that happened. And, he's won in the Red Bull car. He's won in the WeatherTech car how many times now with the weather, being a factor. And then you just had the weather, the hurricane, causing havoc there in the Carolinas and North Carolina and causing all those problems. And then here they're racing and he wins in the WeatherTech car. So you have that as well, extra mockery on top of everything else. So, I mean, it was really, everything was there in this race. And, this was just something that we just called for so long. And again, just, 88 days left to go in the year. And, that there you figure there's the 88 again. And, Ginsburg just making history. We're making history calling these races with him, just him being able to, do something. It took, Jeff Gordon, years to do from 97 to 2000 with just 2 road courses a year. And here he's done in literally just half a season, and being tied for the most wins on the season, just doing it on the road courses, and just it just shows you the level of manipulation, just with these races and the playoffs, and how all this stuff is done, and how it all translates to everything else. And yeah, it was just another week that it's just it's just unprecedented what we've been saying and what we've been calling, and then just how it's all exactly going according to plan. Week in, week out, and this week was just no different.
Absolutely, and I do want to put out, like, I know we've had some new blood in the channel thanks to Zach's recommendations and things of that nature, and that that are more so inclined for the sports aspect and things of that nature. Not saying only inclined, I'm not sure exactly, but for those people, I just want to give you a little bit of a background that I might not have, a little synopsis of where we started and how we got to where we are, because you talked about the middle of the season when SVG just went win to win. You counted those down, but it really was off the back of a simple. It's a simple narrative, just awareness of the political, like the climate outside of sports. If you look back, if you're a fan of NASCAR, who ran the pace car at Daytona to start the year. Donald Trump, Mr. 88. And just that simple thing, I was sitting there looking at the list of drivers, and I was like, oh, there's a number 88 driver, this Van Gisbergen guy. You right then and there, you were able to tell me, oh, he won his first race ever, and he hasn't done anything since. And from just that simple interaction, we had our eye on SVG all season long, making little jokes that might have just come across as jokes, but we've talked off stream about it before, that it doesn't seem like a coincidence that Trump did the pace car. And now put your hindsight goggles on. Is anybody at all surprised that SVG is having a breakout season, and Donald Trump just happened to go and run the pace car? And yeah, absolutely not. So a little bit of background is that it wasn't just a flash in the pan. We had our eye on SVG for literally no reason. When he went after was it Mexico, the first win? Yeah.
Yep.
After Mexico, we were like, yes, he's off the schneid. This is what we've been paying attention to. And from there on out, we took it completely serious that he would be winning more races, because like that first part came to fruition. It wasn't just like, oh, we got lucky. That's not at all. Like, we had been looking at SVG, and he's just been 32ing. He's just been like 32nd every race. And we're just like, it's like, so we were hot on that narrative for a minute before it ever came to fruition. So now that we're here, we've just been sitting back and just giggling, just because we're just like, we knew, like, we saw this happening, and then like each week it would continue to happen to a record-setting pace for him. I've mentioned it multiple times. I want to see somebody's predictions early on that say they saw Van Gisbergen being anywhere near any discussions for anything this year. Now, keep that in mind, because what we talk about multiple times on the channel are these, like, what's the purpose of it all? Like, what's the purpose? If this is a rigged sport, what's the purpose of having a Van Gisbergen come out of nowhere and do what he's doing? What is the purpose? Is it keeping somebody else from winning? Is there some sort of like weird ritual people aren't seeing? Well, if you look at the things that are going out off the track, this year was another year where NASCAR was there's been a lot of heat. Obviously, I believe it's manufactured heat, fake outrage by their own drivers. Early on, it was Hamlin, Larson, big names were all, I think even Byron, were talking about they don't want to race the Cup Series anymore, and they were talking about going to Xfinity or even the Truck Series. I've seen people talking about doing that and retiring from the Cup Series. Like a lot of the biggest names, because they hate the format and they hate the like. Never mind just the playoff format. It wasn't so much just about the playoff format. It was more about their something to do with like NASCAR not being. It's kind of like becoming too big for their britches. That's the way they made it seem, is like they weren't paying attention to the details of the garages anymore, and they were just kind of becoming the NFL, like you mentioned before we started here, which is a great point because it's very much so like that. I'll let you make that point later. But so there was article after article about this drama brewing, and so what comes from that is you have secondarily, like I said, or firstly or secondarily, you have the drivers not agreeing with the playoff format for the most part. And why I'm bringing this up about SVG is because to me, he seems like a perfect excuse. This guy, I guarantee you, is going to be used as a linchpin in order to change the future of NASCAR's makeup moving forward. Because this guy's, we might have seen the foreshadowing for him to win, but the secondary foreshadowing was him not only losing in the playoffs, because he said himself, like, I'm cooked. I don't have a road course, in the playoffs. And so it's like he in his words, it was something very similar to, I appreciate the format because I was able to win and get in the playoffs because, he was, like I said, he was averaging like 30th, but even then he was in the playoffs. But granted, he won, 4 races, tied the most wins during the regular season. But he said himself, he's like, I'm basically cooked. I have almost no shot to move on to the second round. And he did have no shot to move on to the second round. Just terrible. Absolutely, like, dead last. But so my point being is they're going to take a figure like that and they're going to say, look at his capabilities. Nobody, like you point out all the time, the glowing reviews by everybody. He's an alien. He's inhuman. This guy is better than all of us. We can't touch this guy. He's the greatest racer. And then you're just going to leave him out of every playoffs moving forward. That's not the way it's going to go. Not to mention next year you're getting Zilich and him in the Cup Series. That's going to be, a more push for specialist drivers. And yeah, that's my point behind it, is he's considered a specialist driver for road courses. You're not it's not you're not going to be able to keep this format moving forward when you have result driven or drivers getting the results that they're getting and then just getting sidelined. And it's like what's it all for? What's the point of being an SVG fan? He is never going to win in this format, ever. He will never win in this format unless like true miracles happen. And then, like I said, I'm speaking from a fan's perspective, right? Because that's, the smoke and mirrors that all sports league give us, is that these things are driven by our tastes and our likes of drivers and what we want to see. That's true to an extent, but that only, that's only to say that what keeps us mesmerized. So yeah, I do see him being the linchpin in order to change the format moving forward. Now they have backpedaled and said that they're going to keep the same format for next year, when they were not threatening, but it seemed very likely that this next year was going to be a completely different format. And just a couple of weeks ago, they said, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to be the same format next year, but probably different moving forward after that. So we'll see what happens with that. We also have the Trackhouse 23XI lawsuit that's coming to fruition at the end of the season or in December. So there's that to look forward to. So they set themselves up to where they have like a lot of drama on the outside, feeding in to to this decision to, I'm assuming, trying to make NASCAR 5x more exciting as soon as possible, because what you have is you have loyal fans. And what is the what is going to get an entry level fan to NASCAR? You know what I mean? I assume that it's very trickled in, the amount of new fans that NASCAR could get. And I'm not hating on the sport. Driving is really cool to me. It is really cool. I'm not saying I've never watched a NASCAR race, but and I don't think I'd be a fan of necessarily watching NASCAR races, but like I think driving is really cool. I think the art of driving is really cool. But how do you get a fan like when it's so set in its ways? Whereas like NFL has done everything they can to evolve to the fans, same as NBA, for better or for worse. Let's just put that forward, mostly for worse. But you made a great point earlier about, like I said, you said, pointed out, it's very much NFLing itself and becoming more. And of course, you got Gibbs as one of the most prolific winners in NFL now in NASCAR as well. But anyway, yeah, you very much see them taking that direction. Aesthetically, the next step is that the format change, how, and we've talked about what they potentially would do. And I do think that moving forward, it's got to be kind of like a jungle. It's got to be like a mix of everything. And that's going to breed for the fans the best driver. Of course, they'll still be able to control all of that. So you can still get a guy like Larson to win. Well, first of all, Larson's pretty decent on road courses anyway. But so he's like pretty good at multiple tracks anyway, according to his career. But you could explain it away by just saying, these guys have gotten good. There's going to have to be something. The rug's going to get pulled. I don't think moving forward, NASCAR is going to race on ovals 90% of the time. I don't think that that's sustainable. You got a guy like, you're going to have specialists that never have a chance to win. Why are they even there? It's such a weird idea, but like I said, this is going to propel someone forward. And you said this was an anomaly. This is definitely an anomaly. So, in my opinion, he is that linchpin to push this new NASCAR forward. And I honestly, the way I see it, it's very much so like they picked a guy who was like, is clandestine to do what he's doing. He was a role filler from the very beginning. Like, they kept him low until they needed him, and they needed him this year. And here he is, like crazy. So I think there's a definite role that he fills in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and you look at like, the series as a whole, it's like NASCAR right now with the Cup Series, you got the most wins you have is 5. You go to the Xfinity Series, you got 10 right now with Village. And then the trucks, you got 10 with Time, I think. So you got, you know, you got a couple people dominating someone's dominating the trucks, someone's dominating Xfinity. You have the Cup Series, which is pretty, 5 wins being the most. It's pretty. That's kind of usually like that's kind of a pretty solid season. That's like 2002. I remember like there's a lot of people with like 4 or 5 wins, stuff like that. So it's like at most. So it's kind of more spread out, the winners and stuff this year, as far as Cup has gone. But like I said, making those comparisons to other things, not just the playoffs, but like NFL, they have the month of October that everything's pink for breast cancer aware month, and it's like NASCAR, making the playoffs, making it more like football and stuff. Then you have all the pink on the window nets now that they do for October, making it like NFL, blending that in with the breast cancer stuff. So the way they bring those things together, it's very interesting, and you just see it. Like, you just see how with the way these things are, it's you have NASCAR, like this football season, that Super Bowl, then you have the next week you have Daytona. So it's like they're handing off, from one sport to the next. Not long after that, you got WrestleMania, so you got stuff for wrestlers and wrestling. So it's just a thing. They make all these things together as one, and that's just the big way they do it. And you just look at the way that these playoffs are. The last people that have won championships, you go back to 2019, it was Joe Gibbs, it was Kyle Busch. Then 2020, 2021, it was Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. So you had Hendrick there, and then the last three have been all Penske. Well, you look at who's all in the playoffs right now. You have those three teams exactly. You have Gibbs, who won, like I said, 2019. You have Hendrick, who won it 2020 and 2021. Then you have Penske, who won it the last few years. So that's who's all in it right now. And it's probably the most, I would say this is probably the most probably stellar competitive top eight or final eight there's probably been since the playoffs, with just that all the drivers in it, just like all the big names, big hitters. Usually you get like some different people in there, but for how close and competitive it is, it's just super tight right now. And that's all by design. It's the way they're going to making it as interesting and as close as possible for the last month of NASCAR, last few weeks here. So it's just a heavy manipulation. It's just and then you just see how they get these certain like I said, with the way Chastain was kind of screwed himself out of today and screwed himself out of the being in the final eight and stuff. How they set the stuff up last week. You had the top five Toyota dominating, and just two of them put themselves in the wall with Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace, and then Bubba Wallace puts Christopher Bell in the wall, and then Briscoe just put himself in the wall. So it's just it's just kind of embarrassing there. And then today it was just, you saw with Chastain and other stuff, and how that all ended up playing out in the end. And like I said, the race itself, I mean, you had him winning, and like I said, the WeatherTech car with all the the weather stuff going on with the hurricane and the hurricanes and stuff, and how that was affecting Carolina. So you have the the mockery there, the 88 with 88 days left to go in the year. The 88 car won yesterday with Village. So back-to-back wins on the road course for them. And that 88 on the road course this year has been unstoppable, it just seems. But and then just the way, like I said, how this all played out for these certain teams, certain drivers to be in it, making you got to have top eight people, top eight drivers, where it's it's going to be extra super tight and competitive with the best teams and stuff going into it, because you got completely different tracks coming up. I mean, you got mile and a half at Vegas, you got super speedway and over 2.5 miles, restrictor plate track of Talladega, anyone can win there. You got short track half mile at Martinsville, then you got a mile at Phoenix. So you got 4 completely different tracks coming up. 5 of the last races here, the road course as well. All completely different tracks, all completely different races. So trying to make it as interesting as possible, and trying to make it as as competitive as possible too. What they're trying to do and draw people in and stuff. And it's just it's like I said, it's the same thing going on right now with all the other sports. I mean, NASCAR, wrestling, and everybody's talking about how much they hate the sport, or they hate the way things are going, or the way it's they're doing this stuff. But all the stuff that they do is just purposely done on purpose, just make everything one, and then just to get these outcomes. I mean, it's just to get what they want out of it. I mean, for anyone, it's like I said at the beginning of the year, nobody was picking SVG to do anything, but we saw that 88. This was his first year being in the 88. He wasn't in the 88 the last 2 years, and last year he can only best finish second. And then the year before that he could only get the one win. The first time they went to the Chicago road course, that was the first time they went there. He just hops in the car and wins and doesn't do anything. But then this year he just gets in that 88, and you just see what happens. I mean, and then with all the 88s, and we've seen it, there's been numbers and rituals for him every time he's won, whether it's been the sponsor he's got on the car, whether it's safety culture, or it's it's Red Bull, or it's WeatherTech, whatever he's driving, or the numbers are there, the gematria is there, the numerology is there, the dates there. I mean, there's always something for him, and today was again another exact example of that. And I mean, for next year, I mean, it's depending on how things are, how many road courses there are, stuff like that. I mean, he's got a chance to, like I said, basically be the next, or be better than even Jeff Gordon. But it's nuts to think that, you go back to June. I mean, this guy was a complete nobody, and then wins in Mexico, and then just starts this huge streak of road courses. And like I said, with the way that it used to be, with like Jeff Gordon having to just go through Sonoma and Watkins Glen, 2 road courses a year. It took from 97 to 2000 to win 6 in a row, and here he's got 5 in a row, in literally less than half a year. So that's amazing just to let sink in. Just think about that, how it's just, the way they've designed these races. They've added more road courses and stuff. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if he wasn't racing with Trackhouse and driving the 88, I mean, none of this would be possible. But, it just goes, like I said, the manipulation, between the cars, even the drivers, how, does he have probably extra special equipment where the car just isn't, wearing out, or the tires are outlasting everybody else? I'm sure of it, special tires, or, technology with the car to make sure, he's not cutting down tires, or the car ain't going to malfunction or something. There's a lot to it. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, we, just how dominant this has been. I mean, it's just unprecedented. I mean, like I said, these wins haven't even been close. I mean, even the first race, like, that was probably the most competitive, was probably the first one, where he was, it's kind of him and Ty Gibbs and stuff. But I mean, every race, it's just like the wins are getting bigger. I mean, it's like, 20-second wins, and, being over half a lap ahead of the field. I mean, it's just, you rarely ever see domination like that. And just to see it constantly this year, and this guy, I know even Christopher Bell after the race was like, yeah, we're nowhere near him. We're nothing, as good as him. We're not even close to him. So, like they say, he's just this alien, this freak, this monster, this entity out there. There's nothing like him. And just, to set up all of this, and to have a season like this is just, it's absolutely amazing. And then for us to be able to sit here and call all these races, and like I said, 5 top 2 qualifying efforts, 3 poles, 2 second places. So it's just, nobody has anything for him. And it's just been, even if he did, it's interesting to think, if he was in the, did make the last round, and then he'd be in the round of 8. If he won today, he'd be in that. But again, that just shows you the manipulation of it all. I mean, if you take away that aspect, he's what, like, 25th, 30th in points, not really doing much, 2 top 10s all year on ovals, a 6th place at the 500 with Trump. And go figure, that was his best oval all year, was with Trump there with Daytona, with that 88. And then this last week, of course, got to get the momentum, because we're going for 5 in a row. So we had to get that.
10.
Yep. So yeah, it's amazing when you look at how deep it goes, and it's how manipulated this stuff is. I mean, for someone, like I said, that 88 car, I mean, it was always a car that was around. Dale Jarrett used to drive the 88. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in the 88 when he went to Hendrick. So, I mean, the 88's always kind of been around. It's been a car that has been good. I know, like, even Ricky Rudd was in the 88 at one point there in like 2007 for his like last year. So it's been a car that's been around. People have been good in the 88, but just for just one driver, just completely, suck everywhere else, and then just be just unstoppable at the road courses. And just like I said, I mean, how blatant does it get? I mean, 88 days left to go in the year, and here we go again. So I mean, you can't, it's just undeniable. And like I said, whether it's the numerology, the gematria, the dates, I mean, it's just the facts are all there.
Absolutely. And speaking of, we had our eye on our playoff race winner, and we keyed in on a Hendrick driver. First of all, if you guys weren't privy to last week, I had Kyle Larson to win last week, but like I said in last week's episode, I had it because, like, I was kind of pigeonholed and just focused on Kyle Larson more than I was Chase Elliott. But mainly what I was focusing on was a Hendrick driver to win. And so I'm sitting there thinking it's a foregone conclusion that, 23XI or Gibbs is going to win. That's just what it looks like. It's just like there's no Hendrick in sight, really. And of course, the drama of last week and how they ushered in and just, the seas parted for Elliott to just coast in there and take the win. That I kind of took that as I took that as like a little half call because I hit you up beforehand to look at Kyle Larson because and I wish I would have said, gone into more detail. But anyway, I just had an inkling that they would, push Hendrick forward going into this Gordon narrative setup thing that they're doing, not to mention cement them as a team into the next round. And so, yeah, it was more of the same, but not to mention we had a soft call on Larson as well. If you guys don't know, 1 and 2 this week are both our 201 boys of NASCAR. Yeah, Van Gisbergen equal 201 on it. Let me it's already up. And Van Gisbergen 201.66, and then you have, of course, the joke of a name, Kyle Miata. There's so many car names, guys. Another 201.66. The 66 being interesting here because from Larson's last birthday, July 31st, was 66 days. And we noticed that last week. We also noticed that he's 33 years old and he can get his 33rd win. And so it's almost like, first of all, he didn't get it, technically. So I think the odds of him winning a race still are very high. Actually, I think he will win one of these next few races. So that kind of, just having that kind of idea could propel, there's not that many races left. He can only win one of what, how many? 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 left. So it's a 25% chance that if you put $1 on him, I'm not here promoting betting. I'm just saying if you put $5 on him each race, it's like, in my opinion, that's what I'm saying I could do. Just because I'm pretty sold on him getting his 33rd win while he's 33. But granted, he does have a July birthday, so he would technically still race next year before he's 34. With that being said, I think it's pretty likely. But yeah, he gets a playoff win 66 days after his birthday is and obviously I showed you guys his name equals 66. And but yeah, so I mentioned in the little preamble before that we had a double call, and it wasn't some magnificent like, guys, check out Larson, he's a guarantee. But with the looming narrative for Gordon and the SVG thing, the road course set up for next year, we were that was the guy we noticed the most. And so I think that's very interesting that you have both 201s going 1 and 2, and the way it took place. And I'm sitting there like, because yeah, SVG was, he was 20 seconds ahead, but if you just eliminate him and the camera never goes ahead, it looked like a tight race. It was a crazy race at the end. It was Bell and Larson just back and forth like 0.3 seconds each split times. And just right there at the end, Larson was able to just barely pull ahead and win. I was just like, got their ass. Like I was sitting there talking to my kiddo saying like, nah, dude, Larson's got this. They're making it look close, but Larson's going to take wins or win the playoff race and take second. It was obvious to me, and so when it happened, I was like, yeah. But I was still pretty excited for the double call to come through. And yeah, like you said, and moreover for me, it's like, yeah, I know I pretend to be a little cocky. I'm not cocky about this stuff at all, guys. To me, it's dust in the wind technically, but it is fun and it's cool and it's exciting being able to, put, ideas together and have them come to fruition. And, if you don't know our story, it's not like we're longtime friends or anything like that, or known each other for forever. We just obviously had this particular chemistry that clicked, and we've been running on that chemistry ever since. It's not like we have like some deep connection through anything else. And so it's just, we're able to sit here. I think it proves to be a good like cautionary tale for everybody that, well, maybe not a cautionary tale, but like, you know, a tale as old as time. No, but just that, you know, reach out to people, you know, make friendships, do, you know, there's something here. Like we're able to not only, and this is, I'm bringing this up about like our ability to, you know, come together and predict these. I say predict, but really like decode these races ahead of time. That's really what it is. We're not diviners. We're not seers as much as my thumbnails might say we are. But really what it is on top of that, I was going to say on top of that, just, you know, go back and like you mentioned our first 10, 15 videos. Those are like some of the most fun I've ever had, just like talking to somebody. And we had these like great episodes where just like certain pieces in there are just like timeless to me already. Like there's certain, you know, things we were able to unveil and see as we're just, you know, talking back and forth. So there's like, for lack of a better term, a certain magic of just, you know, friendship slash whatever this is, you know, what's a good word, correspondence, you know, just being able to have a steady like stream of consciousness with another person. It pays off, and you'll you know, it's, you know, someone might be sitting there, oh, you mean just being someone, you know, having a friend? It's like, yeah, in a way, but it's something more like that. It's like there's a purpose. There's a like a driving purpose behind it all that kind of keeps things on track without having, you know, that way the burden isn't on us to like stay friends for like ulterior reasons. We're friends because we both have a like a purpose that is aligned. And so I'm glad I was able to clean up that, because I was I was kind of waffling there for a second. But yeah, I think that's the main point I'm trying to say is like we have an aligned like purpose as different as we can be, and that you know I just think that it shows, and I hope that it is an inspiration to other people. I mean, we were talking. I talked to Dale in the one of our best commenters, great guy. In the emails a lot, and we talk about like he gets into it about a lot of different things, but like he was able to spot right away just like the kind of effortless kinship, like when we have King Richard on and stuff like that. And that's like something I don't want to like just take for granted and have it be gone in a, you know, things are fleeting if you don't like reach out and grab them type of deal. Or, and so I really want, before it's all said and done, to make something more regular. And I think that there's something there for us to come together on and on a more regular basis. I think things just flow too freely, and we all, between all of our different experiences and what we, you know, our takes on things, it really does cover a lot of sectors for people. That way they aren't searching three different channels for three different ideas in their head. You know, you come to our channel, more than likely you're going to get an idea that you know that aligns with you, because, you know, we cover so many different things in so many different ways. And not to say it's scattered, it's all, you know, we are able to contain it in one kind of frame of thought through what we end up talking about, and these conversations just flow so naturally and easy. And hopefully, like I said, more than anything, I just hope it proves as inspiration for people to realize that they can do it too, without going into the whole diatribe about how we met, as much as I like doing that. Because I do think that is maybe I'll make it like a mission statement one of these days. You know how like people like to post their like, how do we get our humble beginnings? Like maybe I'll post that just so people can read it, because I do think it's worth understanding. Because, you know, people 20 years ago didn't think everybody would be disconnected and have their heads in screens all day long. Well, guess what? Here we are. So you're going to have a generation of kids that does not understand what I'm talking about. So it might seem like, oh, duh to you, but just wait. In, you know, another 10 years, this will be the very minority of people conversing together, human interaction type behavior going on. So as it, I take it as my and our job to promote that wherever I can. So that's kind of my stance on that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's that's the thing about, what we do. I mean, it's so unique. I mean, we don't, it's, you go back to, like I said, our first couple episodes, we broke down, Kurt Cobain. We were bringing that up, pretty much a little bit every episode. Like the first, like 10 episodes, I have a little bit, things to add to Kurt Cobain and stuff in Nirvana, because there's just so much. So I just add a little bit of Kurt Cobain Nirvana every episode. Um, and I still do it from time to time and stuff. And like I said, I mean, you go back to like our first 20 episodes, or 21 or whatever, before, we got into NASCAR and stuff every week. I mean, we were talking about all different kind of stuff. And then we were talking about NASCAR. We talk about other things. Then we bring up like WrestleMania, stuff like that, the Super Bowl episode. We talked about even golf and stuff. So we've brought up a couple of sports, different things as well, and different things. But we've made this a series this year at NASCAR, and it's so rare, but it's something that what we were able to do this year. I mean, this is an unprecedented year with what's going on, and it was the perfect year to do this. I mean, it was the perfect year to call NASCAR with everything going on, with everything on the line and all this, and it was a perfect move. And I'm glad we did it. And we stuck with it, and now we're at the end, and it's like I said, a month is like a week. So really a month left is like a week left. And, before you know it, it'll be over. And then that's, we'll figure other stuff out to move on to. And, like I said, how to kind of structure episodes and, what to talk about and how, just the way of going back about things. And, I'm excited and looking forward to it. And I'm just, I'm just, like I said, it's just amazing what we've been able to do. And it's just, I like the way we've done it. We've had a unique style. We've done stuff that no one else does or has done, for as far as I know. I mean, we're the only people in the world, as far as I know, that can do what we do because of the knowledge that we have. I mean, if there's anyone else out there that knows this stuff or talks about it, then, I hope they come forward and share, because to me, that's what makes it all special. And like you said, with people like, King Richard that comes on and adds in what he adds in, and it's just, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what's missing in today's world. It's just that everyone, like I said, is alone and isolated and stuff, and there's not that connection where it's, like I said, are we the exact same people? No, not at all. Or is King Richard exactly like us? No, not at all. But the fact that we have the minds, we have a mind, and we can use our mind to come together and see patterns and pretty much see the same exact thing. No two people are going to agree about everything. No two people are exactly alike. It doesn't mean you're right, I'm wrong, or whatever. It doesn't. That's not what it's about. It's about what we're able to do, being who we are. And that's, to me, that's what should motivate and inspire others. And that's hopefully what we were able to do in the near future. Hopefully, we've been out here for a year, so I hope that what we've been able to, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have talked about and covered, and there's a lot of great things we were able to share, I feel. And I feel like a lot of people, if you watch pretty much all of our content, like I said, I mean, there's a lot that you could have gained and learned and figured out and stuff. I mean, either from our conversations or whatever. So I'm very excited for what's to come and where we go from here with everything. And it's just one moment, one step at a time, and one day at a time. But I what we do, it's rare, it's unprecedented, and it's for anyone else that, like I said, that we're just looking for more people to just join in, just jump in. That's all it is. So the more the merrier.
I think that's going to be our battle cry. Basically, is just it's easy to fall into I don't want to say like despair, but like comfortability, the norm of what the world is pushing and things of that nature. And we're going to get into the health conversation, and I'm going to give you a good helping of that, because I do want to approach it from a certain angle personally, because, well, we'll get to it when we get there. But yeah, you can't just like fall into stagnation. You really need to understand that it's only now. There's only now. There's nothing else is guaranteed. I know that sounds cliche, maybe a little cheesy, but in reality, even for simple things, that is how it works. Like even to like a bacterial level, that's just how the way it takes action. You have to act in order to make things happen. So hopefully, like I said, it's not, as long as in my head I can, not rest on my laurels, but also as long as I think that, with what we're doing, it can provide an inspiration for someone else, or, insight to somebody else that might inspire them to do something in their lives. Like we've said multiple times, this isn't to propel us forward that unless that comes with the, the responsibility, I'll say, of, pulling others up with us. And you got to hold on though. If you're going to push us to the top, hold on as we go and come with us. It's not so that we can be some figureheads and get lost in the sauce thinking that we're hot shit or anything. That you've seen that story over and over again. It's a tale as old as time. I've said that twice already. See if I can get a third before the end of the end of the night. But yeah, it's not like we're looking to rise and fall here. We're looking for consistent, contributions from a community. And it's like, if we need to be the figurehead, sure, but it's not going to be for nothing. It's not going to be so we can preach on a pulpit. It's so we can, all be, guide this movement together. It's not so we can be the dictators or anything like that. There's nothing about this that I personally I wouldn't want anything like that. So the more community effort and outreach, the better. And who knows? We're infants. We're a year in to our career, if you will. Let's just call it that. So who knows? What opens up for us later in life, and how maybe potentially easier it might be for us to get together and do different things that would be conducive to not just online, is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
that could be a huge boon to our mission as well. And we've talked about that over and over again. So, but at the moment, with what we have to offer, it's always good for a grassroots movement to at least have some seeds planted. And now we're starting to water those seeds, and we all just need to grow together, and it'll be a nice healthy lawn. This is dad analogies. It's just all about the yard and barbecue for some reason. But yeah, anyway, looking ahead to next week briefly here before we get into our discussion, because I do want to touch on next week, because this is, obviously such a pivotal thing. It's been pivotal ever since the beginning, but of the playoffs. But obviously it gets more and more each week, or each leg of the playoffs. And just quickly noticing, because we were talking about Logano beforehand, and now we're talking about Logano now, with him winning Vegas last. Interestingly enough, is 22 weeks ago from his last win. This week, so let's see, what will be 12, and 23 weeks. But here it is, 5 months, 8 days was. Yeah, there it is. Las Vegas, Nevada equals 58. And not to mention, where else was it? Oh, never mind. This is 23, not 32. Okay. But yeah, you got that 5 months, 8 days, like in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just quickly, a little interesting little tidbit there. But also, Larson hasn't won, I think, since May 11th. I'm pretty sure he won the week after. And so Larson has that 22. So it's just an interesting little dichotomy there. Of course, Logano drives the 22 is why I was bringing that up. But also, where was it? Did I not? Oh, did I not punch it in? Oops. Yeah, I didn't. Or did I? Whoops. Anyway, I lost that train of thought because I forgot to punch some. There was something else that I had here. I don't think I hit enter on there. Oops. Now I lost where I was going with it. Damn it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But other than that, yeah, like I was gonna say, Las Vegas's last winners. Usually I do this by date. Huh. Okay. So Logano winning it last year. Interestingly, Barry won it this year, the first race there. Almost forgot about that race. I had to go look it up. Such a seems so long ago.
Many moons ago.
But another Ford. You have Fords winning, which is interesting. Yeah. So what was this? October 20th. Yep. So we have another October race in Vegas where Logano can make a repeat push to cement his spot in the final round. So there's that narrative moving forward. Did you notice anything else? I've been like I said, I do think Larson will get a win, and pair that with our potential call for Blaney. That does kind of narrow down the amount of winners there can be moving forward.
And will we get any more non-playoff driver wins too?
It'd be funny if we didn't. It'd be so evident to me that exactly what we talk about is the reason why the only non-playoff driver win would have been the SVG this year. Yeah. So personally, I'm sitting here on the talking about our calls from before. I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter too much to have Logano in there as well, but if Logano were to find his way not to make it into the next round, I would obviously not mind that with, uh, calling Blaney to win it this year. So, but if he were to make it, that could just be, icing on the cake for Ford as well. So really either or. It's not any like I'm not sweating if Logano cuts isn't cut in this next round either. I was gonna look at Blaney. Need to make this a little smaller. So just oh yeah, I should remember Blaney's by now. It'll be 80 days from his birthday. Or two till his birthday. 11 weeks and 3 days. Like Las Vegas Motor Speedway is 113.
Byron's been super quiet lately too. I'm wondering if he's going to get the win before the year's out.
Mr. Consistency in that 24 car. What if they did 3 straight races in tribute to Jeff Gordon? Wouldn't be surprised, isn't he?
And he won his first championship in '95. It was 30 years ago. So that's what I got my eye on him for too this year. And Gordon's 54.
Hmm. 48 days from his birthday.
Like his teammate Bowman, 48. The old Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, wasn't Bowman like 5th? No, that was back then. Okay. Bowman. See. And was good old Willie Byron's. Maybe Tennessee, get some Tennessee news going on. Maybe Bill Lee. Wait, bro, watch the Raiders play the Titans or something like that. Hold up. Hold up real quick. Trying to play the Cardinals today. What about next week? They really don't make this easy, do they? Bro.
Oh my
goodness. Yo, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is like the craziness that you have to have enough background understanding for this to like happen, bro. Okay, this game's at 1. This game. What time's the race?
Probably going to be around 1 or
I would assume 1. Yeah.
2. Yeah, if it's Pacific, because it's going to be Pacific time, Vegas. 1 or 2 o'clock, probably.
2:30. Okay, so we should
Yeah.
get the winner of the Raiders Titans game before. Guys, pay attention to that game, I would say. If you guys don't know what I mean, William Byron is connected at the hip to the governor of Tennessee, William Byron Lee. So, and just trust me, I mean, I could go over it because it's super interesting, but several points this season, especially his wins, have been clearly tied to that governor, especially his last win, which was where you had Bill Lee host an MLB game at Bristol. So they had and it's crazy how they did it too. It's crazy. It was a Saturday game, but it got rain delayed, and so they finished the game on Sunday on race day. So pay attention to that. You got Las Vegas. Well, actually, who's home? It looks like okay, so it's in
It's in
Vegas
Vegas,
too.
yeah.
Guys,
Oh man,
pay attention to who wins this game. If I would almost venture to say if Tennessee Titans win, I think that would be a pretty good tell for Willie B. That's crazy. That's nuts.
better
Like how
see
do you
if Bill E's
He's got tickets to that.
seriously if he's at this game, guys, I'm telling. Oh, that's a little on the cuff. That's kind of wild. Whew. Anyway, August 3rd was his last win. 70 days from this race. 10 weeks on the nose. Interesting. And wait, what's he sitting on too? Something
He's got 2 wins this year.
yeah, he'd be going for his 16th. Uh, uh, LV. Interesting enough, he goes 20 and 11. Interesting. But yeah, you're right. It would be his 3rd win too this year.
He had 3 last year.
They like their repetition. Guys, I think it's already a weird enough coincidence that even just happened. I'm still sitting here like, what the hell? Guys, trust me, I do not pay attention to any sports or anything like that. So I was completely just guessing there, just because of the whole. You got to keep that in the back of your head whenever you're thinking about William Byron. Is there anything going on with the governor of Tennessee? So that's a little bit of some interesting action going on there. That would also play into the idea that Hendrick gets another win too, 3 in a row. I mean, that could set up a very interesting situation. Okay, so right now, Toyotas have 3, Fords have 1, and Chevys have, or wait, what did I say? Toyota has 3, Ford has 1, and yeah, Chevys have 2 wins. And when I say Chevy, I meant team. As far as teams go, yeah, it's Gibbs has 3, Penske has 1, and Hendrick has 2 wins.
Or Trackhouse has a win too, if you count.
Oh, yeah. Very true. I just wonder if they could go even. Like all 3 teams, could they get 3 each? Yeah,
That's
if
possible.
Logano and Blaney 1-2 and Larson and Byron 1-1. Or Chase Elliott. I once again just forgetting my boy. So that's another interesting, weird narrative to potentially think. Only reason why I bring that up is because they've been all over 3 this year. The Byron or the Bell 3-peat into the of course we had the 3-peat earlier in the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs with capped off by Bell again, which we called because of that exact narrative or that exact fact. Also, is 200 the Toyota's 201st win.
Yep.
Good stuff. Interesting. So I would say, you know, whatever else we can glean from this, keep in mind, guys, to keep your eye on the NFL come this Sunday. Very interesting. You got Tennessee playing it, and that could be an interesting tell for William Byron there. Apart from that,
I think Byron and Blaney are the only two drivers that were in the Final Four the last 2 years. Could be 3 years in a row they're in the Final
like
Four.
a rivalry pushing type narrative. Continue that rivalry. Something they can write about in the history books. You know, it's so crazy. It's like what used to be like documentaries that my mind went to. Nowadays, my mind goes to these never-ending podcasts. Just about anybody who played in any sport now has a podcast where they interview people who played the sport too, and they just go about on and on about rivalries, and they just clip farm like all day long. It's just like little 20-second clips about, oh man, this guy was crazy. If you guys knew him, oh boy, man, in the league. It's just like that's all it is. It's just like that's so I could very well see, you know, these types of narratives being the driving, once again, for lack of a better term, um, like force of like media moving forward, because it's like Sports Center's dying, whereas these sports podcasts are, you know, being, you know, coming into their own. Anyway. "47 days." And it'll be 14 days from his last win. Oh yeah, well, real quick before it's just a little small little fact. I don't know if I mentioned this, that I don't know why this popped back into my head, but Zilich is actually from Charlotte, so he won in his backyard. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh yeah.
It's from Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's very interesting that they love doing that kind of thing where the hometown guy, you know, like you mentioned, they had that hurricane and everything. So they love doing that where it's like a heroic story. It's just, you know, think of Katrina and the Saints, things of that nature. They love doing that. Is Briscoe like foregone? What's your idea with Briscoe? Just moving forward. You think there's any shot that they'd use him moving forward? You think he's still a player on the chessboard?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is his first year with Gibbs. I mean, he's probably been the best qualifier all year in terms of holes and consistency of qualifying. I mean, he could. I mean, you got Bell too, who just seems like he's been there in that Final Four. I don't think Briscoe's been in the Final Four yet. I think he might be the only guy left that hasn't been in the Final Four at all. Who's left? So he's probably got maybe the least experience of the Final 8.
Interesting. I didn't know that was first year. That's something that comes up a lot too. Is either a flop or a success in first years for people. They like playing on that too.
Yeah, because he had a few wins. I think he was in the 14 car. I think was the car he was in before, but he got taken over Truex's ride after Truex retired.
Some big
The
shoes
big
you're filling,
19.
boy. Well, he's going for his 5th win. His next win will be his 5th. And let's see, well, when was his last win? Darlington on the 31st. That's right. Squeaked in on that one. So his last one had been 42 days from the race. 6 weeks to even, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to lose, right? We might be losing both chases.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting thing to see if.
And Briscoe and Bill, they're connected at the hip too. We were talking about that last episode. They're about twins.
I think I'm ready for that article to come out in the future. They do their 23s and me's and like Curry and LeBron born in the same hospital kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see unless they want to propel Briscoe forward, but I haven't seen that idea, but that is what the surprise and these things do come down to Vegas, not just the race next week, but also the gambling center that controls these outcomes. So that's interesting that his chances, I think, rely on whether or not they want to push like a crazy outcome. And usually the crazy outcomes come on in most sports in like relatively like dead year type. I don't know how to explain this. So like trying to think of the latest of the last like crazy outcome in sports, because when you guys try to think back to the crazy outcomes in sports, they happen a lot less than you think. Like generally they fulfill the narratives that the beat writers and sports writers have been pushing all year, because that's how they keep their job, is because it's a fake job where they're writing about things that they already know the outcomes to, and so they're able to look like legitimate. And this is they write their own legitimacy. This isn't like they're so good at their job and that's why they're doing it. Oh yeah, no, let's take a look at my boy Bell.
He's the only guy that's in there that hasn't been in that Final Four yet, but it's also his first year with Gibbs, so it should be very interesting. Bell was in the Final Four last year, I think. I think he got 4th. He got last in the Final Four.
I do think more than likely they would choose to propel a group forward that seems to be like dynamic rivalries. That would because like this is all on the back of me thinking that they're going to reboot and relaunch this whole idea of NASCAR moving forward, and so they're going to want a core group to follow while that's happening. So that's just the way I perceive what's going on right now, because there's so much shakeup news in NASCAR, um, as opposed to most other sports that stay relatively consistent. It looks like NASCAR is in the soon to be in the wake of a big change, sweeping changes in the sport, and that's just how I perceive. I would assume with that comes proving legitimacy, like showing that the model has consistency, rather than it just being in flux and then just being like, "Yo, this shit's crazy. Let's just change it." They're not gonna, they're gonna want to show a good product, even though they're making changes. So I don't think that it'll just uh, turn into chaos. Is what I'm trying to say. September 13th.
Yeah, there's usually always. I mean, you're gonna have like the last 3 years when Ford won it. I think Logano was the only Ford in it in 2022 in the final round. He was definitely the only Penske car, and then Blaney was the only Penske car in 2023, and then last year it was both Blaney and um, Logano to battle it out, them both being in it. So, and every time Logano's won it, it was an even year. If he wins it this year, it'll be his first odd year, and it'll be his first year where he won it back to back years as well. So that's also interesting to think about.
I mean, that's a strong narrative just based on how many times that's been a thing. Drivers winning certain courses back to back. I think that that's a thing where they can kind of be specialists without being different different types of track specialists. Rather, they'll be like specialists at certain ovals. You know what I mean? It just gives another layer of like a not specialty only, but like I can't think of the word, but something similar to like competition, where they can say like this guy's really good at this track, and so if he ends up not winning at that track, it gives you something to write about. Wow, this guy was able to knock off this guy on that track. Wow, he had a bad race because he didn't get the results on this track because he's normally so good on this track. You know what I mean? So I could see, that I'm sure that you're going to notice that a lot in NASCAR, where a lot of drivers have multiple wins on certain tracks, so that it's kind of defining of their driving style or abilities, so that when they do good or when they do bad, they can chalk it up to certain aspects of the track or competition.
Yeah, it's like Bobby Labonte at like Atlanta. They used to he always was like the best car there, most consistent. You could always you ever going with Atlanta and he was driving the Interstate Batteries Pontiac Grand Prix, you had to if you weren't picking Bobby Labonte, you were just a fool. He was almost certain to finish first or second.
Yeah. Well, once again, this is where you guys come in. I noticed a couple things that I shared with you, but nothing like certainly major. I do think that there is a pretty good narrative, just like we were talking about, for Logano to repeat years at Vegas and do the same type of history repeating with, locking himself in for the last round of the playoffs as well with an October win. So that's hanging out there. Uh, certainly keep your eyes peeled on the NFL earlier in the day. I I certainly will. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, watch their what's the Tennessee Titans roster look like? I'll look at both the Titans and God forbid there's like a random name in there. Quandre Diggs. Sometimes you just got to go through the names in sports. It's so funny sometimes.
It's like all the loves in the NFL. Everyone's got a love name.
Yeah, they got cooked.
And they're
Why
both
are they?
1-4 too. That's
Yeah, I saw
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Why are the Colts good? I don't. I'm so far beyond like NFL anymore. Damn, nothing I noticed here. You never know. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that, guys. But yeah, why don't you kind of lead us into this, the meat of the discussion moving forward here about like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about health from a different couple of different perspectives and angles. But why don't you lead us in, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just so much to say on this topic, and it's something we kind of we cover and we talk about a decent amount here and there. Um, but I think it's something where it's a lot more prevalent than that, and I think it's another huge issue in society because it's um, there's so many people that have so many undiagnosed problems too. I mean, it's not obviously just you know there's so many people walking around with mental problems and stuff, physical problems, obviously emotional problems, and your health is there's so much to health. I mean, um, and it's something that it looks a lot of different ways. I mean, it could be you injure yourself, you got hurt. I mean, I have to deal with that. I've had a lot of different injuries in my life and like health problems and things bother me. And like I know when I was younger, like when I was like 10 to 12, like I had like a lot of like heel problems, and my heels and my feet would hurt really bad, so I wasn't really active from like 10 to like 12. And then I was like 2005, 2006, 2007, and like 2007 I was good. And like 2008 I know I had like a lot of like then it went to like my knees, and I had like a lot of knee problems from like 2008 to about like 2012, I'd say, till about 17, uh where I just had like huge like bumps, like almost like tumors, like eggs coming out of both of my knees. Like I had like 5 of them on each side and stuff. And those are just random examples, but and you injure yourself here or there, you get banged up, and stuff happens. And it was a lot easier, when I was in my teens and my 20s. I'd have to deal with injuries or problems or stuff, and then you didn't have all these other stuff. But you get older, you get in your 30s. We're both in our 30s, so it's things are it's a lot harder to recover, even though you could you're in your best shape of your life. But um it's just harder to like overcome and recover from things. And I think that for me, I mean, like this year, it's been just like up and down with, injuries or problems or stuff. And it's kind of been that way last few years. I mean, it's just, stuff just happens and you got to find ways to, work on stuff, fix stuff. And that's something that, they don't teach you that in school. And, people don't, talk about really health. I mean, you have like health class, but you don't learn shit. It doesn't really talk about problems and how to fix things. Like a lot of people, like a lot of things that people struggle from is like low back problems, shoulder problems, knee problems. Like that's like the first big three like a lot of people have. And um like that keep a lot of the gym and stuff too. And it's like, I've been having this like shoulder problem that I had like a year ago that was bothering me from, it was around this time. It was pretty bad. And then it was getting better like around, say probably like December, January-ish. It was getting better, but like November was awful. Like remember October was really bad and shit. It's kind of the same thing this year. It's kind of started up like about a month ago. Like August, I felt great. Like everything was feeling really good. And then like September, my shoulders just been bothering me, and it's having to do a lot of like stretching and stuff on it because it's like to the point where I just can't even um like I haven't even been really working out that much at the gym because I can't really do anything upper body wise. Like I'm just kind of sticking to low body stuff around. Like I said, like the trampoline park, running, doing deadlifts, squats, stuff like that, leg press, maybe doing stuff for like my wrists, forearms, but like I can't really do like bicep curls, tricep, like bench and overhead press because like even my shoulder just is all like just not having it and just like in pain. So I've been having to kind of push back from, stop myself from going to the gym, making it worse because that's how I am. I'll be real stubborn and push myself to just go and, uh, just not, take my body and my health as maybe as seriously as I should. Or I want to keep thinking I can just push through something. It's hard because like, and then and that's like I said, I've had to do like other things this year. Like I sprained my back during my birthday, and that took about till August to pretty much recover from that. And I was pretty much recovered at that point. But then it's just like, you got to go through things all the time. You injure something. My wrist, I messed it up for like a week back in like August too, and injured that for like a week. And then it's been getting better lately too. That's pretty much gotten better. But things happen, they come up. But a lot of times people don't know how to like really like um fix things and work on things. And some things are more complex and harder to, fix than others. Um like I said, when I had like that heel problem when I was like growing up from like 10 to 12 and I couldn't like walk or like run or do anything for a couple years. And like then I was like 12 and it was like 2007, I was like fine for a bit. And then 2008, my knee problems again, I couldn't really do anything till I was like 17. So I couldn't really like do much walking or running or be very active or do things. And it took a lot of years, off my life because those are years where you're just about to that. Those are the earlier years in your life where you're kind of developing, and it just sets you back and it just pushes you back. Where you could have been doing things like the first 10 years I didn't have any issues, and then all of a sudden you have one injury or one problem that could just lead to a bunch of other things. And then I've had that happen too. Like like a decade ago, I like uh, sprained my middle finger, and then like I was trying to work one day, and then I dropped something on because my finger was messed up, and then I messed things up at work, and I like dropped something on my toe, and then my toe was like all messed up and smashed, so I messed that up, and so I'm limping around with a bad toe, and then I can't really grab anything because I got a bad finger. It's like, and injuries and stuff can add up, and um even this week too, just like I said, like Tuesday, like I was feeling great, I was at the gym, everything was good, and then all of a sudden it was like I felt amazing, had a great workout, and then I was like 2 o'clock, and then all of a sudden I felt myself, I was starting to get sick all of a sudden. Like I could just feel like this cold coming on, like my allergy sinuses. And that always bothered me like around this time, like fall, winter, spring. Usually I'll get sick like a couple times, few times a year with that. Sometimes I'll get like a fever, or, fevers, like sinuses, allergies, that kind of thing. It's like usually I'm never really sick in like summertime. Like if I get a cold, I can overcome it. Unless I get like I've gotten sick from like the heat, like heat strokes and stuff too, or just being in the South. Like I won't like I'll pay attention to the temperature. It's like, oh, it's 70, 75. I'm in California. I'm in LA. I'm in Arizona. I'm all good. And then all of a sudden, I'm just out and about and just 70, 75. But I don't realize that it's not the same sun. If we're living in like Wisconsin, Wyoming, Washington, it's not the same sun as down there. It's a different sun. It's a different 70, 75. It doesn't necessarily feel hot. You could be cold and uh, goosebumps and, still get sick from the sun. It's just things like that. And, um, there's so much that, like I've had to learn, there's so much stuff too, like that, it comes up too later in life too, injuries, problems, sometimes it can be repeated problems, like kind of what I'm going through with my shoulder. I had this like a year ago and now it's kind of come back and I'm dealing with stuff and I can't really do anything, it just kind of puts you back and then you got to take a break from certain things. And, and it's just, um, it's something that, it's not really taught about in school, as well as mental health and emotional health, stuff like that. And it's just, it's such a huge problem with society, whether it's people, being out of shape, maybe they're just really out of shape, or maybe it's they're in good shape, but they just, they're injured, they have health problems or something comes up. But a lot of times people don't know, how to do stuff, how to fix it. Like I said, I haven't been to a doctor, hospital in over a decade. I don't go to doctors, hospitals. I work on stuff, fix my stuff on my own, and do research. And it's, like I said, certain things are very hard to figure out, and can be complex, and there could be a lot of things you have to do to figure something out, and to figure out what's wrong with you and how to fix it. And certain things can be very difficult and take a lot of time. But I think that's something where it's something where, it's got so many people in society to so down. I mean, you got some people there, they have so much health problems. Everyone, if it's not their, it's some people that they're just, and this is the thing I'm trying to get to, is that these things can add up. I mean, it's like when you're sick. I mean, when you're sick, physically, or, you're, like I've been sick, and then my shoulders bother me. It's like these things, they add up, and, and then it, makes, gives you, anxiety or depression, stuff like that. Cause now you're not really going out enjoying your life and doing things you want to do, and it pushes you back, and these things add up with people. And, um, I think this is something that isn't talked about, very much at all in society. It's just like, how people have so many problems, maybe if they don't have like maybe anxiety or depression, maybe they have, it's their posture, their back is all messed up, or they got scoliosis, or it's this or it's that. And like for me, like I said, stretching is so huge. Knowing how to stretch, and what you're working on, and what you're doing, and how to make certain things, like trying to, your shoulder is bothering you, but it's like you don't know what it is. It's your shoulder, but you're doing all this stuff, and it's like, you don't realize, it's like coming from the back of like your shoulder blades, or it's your serratus muscle, or what muscles, where they connect and what you can do. It's like once you kind of figure that stuff out, and then you learn how to work on things and fix things. And that's something where it's like there's a lot, especially since I've been probably, my teens, my 20s, there's a lot more information on, like YouTube and videos, stuff like that. There's a lot more stuff it used to be really hard to like figure this stuff out. Like a lot of people just, have to probably just go to a doctor, because, no one was going to explain it to them, and they didn't have people in their life to teach them this stuff. But now with the internet and YouTube, and there's so much ways to research things. I mean, you could figure out how to, make things go away, and fix things, but still a lot of people either don't do it, or don't know how to do it. And it just puts you in this, just pushes you back. And it just, you have so many people, like I said, that, and whether they're battling, a physical illness, but whether they're sick, or it's a physical thing, or it's a mental, emotional thing. I mean, you got, uh, I think this is something where we just have a sick society. We just have a society of just bad health. Everyone's in bad health and bad shape. And I think it's something that, you can see, the obviously the obesity problem. Obviously, a lot of people are overweight, they're fat. I mean, that's a huge issue within itself. But you have so many other problems and issues in society. Like I said, you have so many handicapped people. How many people are disabled? How many people are just they can barely walk? They're all messed up. I mean, and like I told you too, like I always say, if you don't got your health, you don't got nothing. Health is the real wealth. I mean, um, and that's something that people don't really ever explain to you. They don't talk about it. They don't teach it. And it's not really talked about and taught in school. I mean, even like gym class, like even if you take like, you're like I did too. When I was like 17, I was taking, I just started like lifting weights when I was like 17, but, I'd be like in gym class and then I signed up for like the YMCA when I was like 17. And, uh, like even when I was in my 20s, stuff I didn't, know and understand and how to fix it. Even like a year ago, my shoulder, I didn't know what was going on. And even, now it's complex and I'm learning things, but, there's so many things that it's like, the people don't ever take the time to teach the importance of, certain stretches and how much, how your body really works and how things are supposed to be. And some people, it's like, oh well, I got to go to a doctor, I don't have health insurance, or I don't have anyone to show me this or help me with this or something. But um the thing is, like I said, that the nice part about the times we're living in is that there is information out there how to work on things and fix things and how to do certain stretches and how to kind of pinpoint things. And certain things are, like I said, it's going to take time, and certain things are going to be harder to fix than others. But um and like I said, some people it's their mental emotional health. I mean, some people they're just whether it's depression or anxiety, or they have bipolar, or uh, schizophrenia, whatever. I mean, you got people walking around, they're just a complete mess. And the thing is too, I mean, everyone's health is totally different too. I mean, it's not like what's good for one person is what's good for one person will kill someone else, and what will kill someone else will be good for someone else. So it's, I mean, everyone's different. Everyone reacts and is different about different things. I mean, there's, like I said, there's people that they'll smoke cigarettes, they'll live to be 90, 100 years old with no health problems, no breathing problems, no issues. And other people, they'll smoke cigarettes, they'll be dead by 40 with lung cancer, or 30. So it's uh everyone's different. I mean, you got people that they'll eat McDonald's every day and they'll be skinny, and drink Mountain Dew every day and they'll be skinny, and they'll be in great health and they'll live to be 90, 100 years old, and they'll just live life like that. Other people, they'll do that. They'll be fat and obese and they'll be dead by 30, 40. So it's like, it's crazy. And it's just like, and like you have so many people walking around with just, undiagnosed problems. I mean, just nobody knows. These people are just they're just a complete mess inside, but nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows how to fix it, what's wrong with them. Or it's like I don't go to the doctor. I can't afford a doctor, medicine. But a lot of times that's not even what you need. I mean, a lot of times it's just simple stretching, or just working on certain things that can help out, exercise, um even like your diet, what you eat. A lot of times, I mean, everyone, like I said, is different. Some people, they'll eat like crap, but for whatever reason it doesn't really affect them, and other people, they'll eat crap and it does affect them. So it's kind of weird. But um the thing is, it's like, we're at that point where you have so many people. Like I said, if it's not obesity, it's their mental health is crap, or their physical health is crap, or they got their bodies just all shot because they weren't they just were going too crazy, or taking too many risks, or not working on proper stretching and how to fix problems. And then it creates this whole mess, and it just puts your body in a bind, and it puts you behind. And sometimes it gets to the point where you might not even be able to get out of it, or you'll try and stretch something and think you're doing it right, or trying to fix something, you actually make something worse, and then you really screw yourself up. And um I think that's where most people are at today. I mean, you look at a lot of 30, 40 year olds, even people in their teens and their 20s. I mean, you don't see many like healthy people walking around. It's like there's so many people that have so much wrong with them, and none of them have. And a lot of people, some people just they don't even want to fix it too. It's just they're so numb to it, or they're so used to it. They don't know any better. They don't even want to fix the problems. They just want to just live with it and just live a miserable life. And and it doesn't matter if people are rich or not, or how much money you got. If you don't got your health, you don't have anything. Health is wealth. And um, people don't understand the importance of that. And like you said, too before earlier, you got so many people just they're in front of their screens, just and at times I'll be watching quite a bit of videos too, and on my phone quite a bit, and trying to learn and stuff and research stuff though. But a lot of people they're just be in their phone, they don't want to really do anything, and then they're wondering why their health just is deteriorating. It's not even just because you're just alone and not doing anything, but um just there's just a way for most people to be that makes you feel good. It makes you feel like alive. And if something's bothering you, it's like you want to fix it right away. It's like me, if I'm sick, I'm not feeling good, I want to just get it over with. And so I'm feeling better, and I can go back to things I was doing. If I'm injured or something's wrong, or I got to work on it, I'm going to stay on top of it every day, and I'm going to work on it every day to get it better, so I can get back to what I was doing, and have my whole body just be complete. That's just the thing. And um it's just like I would that's why I would like to kind of be like a personal trainer in a way too, because I feel like I could help a lot of people and stuff. But
Nah, bro,
um
help me. I'll pay you. I'll pay you.
yeah, I mean, that's something too. Like I wonder if that's something too, like even with the channel, if that's something to more get involved in, like health and how to like work on your body and stuff. Because it's something that, like I said, I mean, I didn't, you know for me, I had so many health problems and things growing up, and that just kind of came up and I had to deal with when I was younger, and I lost years of my life. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I mean, I was in constant pain. I mean, I didn't want to be alive. I'd rather have been dead. I mean, I don't want to be walking around with huge, you know, tumor sticking out of my knee, and I can't walk and I can't run, and I got to crawl everywhere. And, like my heels are bothering me, so I can't do anything. And I couldn't really be a kid. I couldn't really grow up, and it put me behind. And, um, you lose years of your life, and it's just, and then other things too. I wish I would have known when I was in my teens and my 20s, that could have helped me out and could have put me ahead of the curve, the eight ball and stuff. Some people to say, oh, just got to go to the gym, you got to go to the gym. But it's like a lot of people are just they're going to the gym, but it's like they're not, they don't really it's just they're just going to the gym, they're just going through the motions. They don't really know all the stretching you got to do. It's like a lot of people, they'll go there and they'll build muscle, and then all of a sudden their muscles are getting tight, and they're causing all these problems and all these issues. And because people didn't ever teach you and tell you all the stretches you got to do when you build the muscle and you get the muscle, how you got to stretch something out, you have to work on it to fix it, or in order to get stronger, this is what you got to do here, and you got to do this. And there's so many just little things that no one ever teaches you or tells you about in life. And if people have these ideologies, it's just like I said too. I mean, you look at a lot of kids, like me. Uh, like I'm always like, I'm very like ADHD, and it's kind of, just kind of bouncing off the walls, and just, a little bit too much energy and stuff. And then, what are they going to do? Oh, they're going to put kids on Ritalin, and then they're going to give them all this other crap, and they're going to screw them up. Um, and that's going to cause all these other health problems, all these other issues. And you look at how these kids turn out, and then they wonder why they have all these problems and stuff. It's, me, it's like I said, I just, the only thing I ever do is I just smoke weed. I used to drink a little bit when I was younger. Um, but I don't really, like when I was like 17 to like 21, I drank a little bit, but pretty much that was it for me for drinking. I don't drink at all. So I just, I smoke weed here and there, and that's it. Just smoke weed, work out, stretch, do what I got to do. But you have all these other people. I mean, they don't they don't take care of themselves. They don't know how to take care of themselves. And whether they're overweight, they're fat, they can't they can't even basically do workouts, or it's just like I said, people, oh, just go to the gym, but yeah, going to the gym is great, but if you don't know, like, and everyone goes for different reasons. I mean, some people, they might just be walking on a treadmill and that's it, or they just go there to do something simple, or some people, they want to maybe be bodybuilders and get on steroids and take things super seriously. I don't do that. I don't do roids. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm more of a power lifter type style. But you got people that just want to be power lifter stuff. But a lot of people, and like I said, now you do have, like I said, you have technology to teach you these things, and you do have the internet and YouTube and stuff. But and like I said, even mental health too, and emotional health. Like, you got so many people, they have all these problems, but uh, and then if they go to a doctor, they go somewhere, then they're going to be put on pills, they're going to be put on this, going to be put on that, and that's going to screw them up, even way worse, and it's going to just totally destroy their health. When really all they had to do was either just maybe get extra sleep. Sleep is so important, and it plays a huge role how you feel. Obviously, like I said, the foods can be a huge impact, and exercise, stuff like that. I know, like this time of year, it starts to get tougher to get out. It's getting colder. It's time of year people get sick, and um, people end up not doing as much. You end up getting more tired, more depressed. The lack of sun. So like in like the winter time, like, you're supposed to be sleeping more. You're not supposed to be up and out like you are in the summertime, because your body, it ain't with the program, because it's winter. Winter's hibernation, it's sleep, it's take it easy time. It's not run around and go crazy. Then people are doing that in the winter time, and they're wondering why they feel so shitty. It's because, yeah, you live in a cold, dark, depressing place. You got to take these things into consideration. I mean, and we're just not taught these things. These things aren't taught in school. They're not taught in health class. They're not taught by your friends and stuff, maybe at the gym, or just really anybody. It's just, these are things that you have to do a lot of research on. And I think I think this is an area that I've been trying to work on it myself, and be better now that I'm in my 30s and learn a lot of this stuff. But I would love to help and work with other people as well on this, because I feel like this is where we're lacking the most, in my opinion, in America, is, at least from what I see, as health. I mean, mental health is just in the gutter. It's in the shitter. Emotional health is in the gutter. It's in the shitter. Physical health in the gutter, and the shitter. And it's not, you could look at someone and go, oh, they look pretty good, they seem all right. Well, maybe they are, but maybe they have, they have injuries or things that are bothering them, or they do have some, other issues. And some people, it's easy to spot, some people it's not easy to spot. And that's the thing. I mean, just because someone looks great doesn't mean that they necessarily are great, or they are doing well. And some people, it's obvious that they're not. But it's like, if people had and this, like I said, this is passed down through the kids. I mean, if the parents, if they got kids, and then they don't have good health habits, their kids aren't going to have good health habits. And then they're going to have all these people running around, and mental illness. A lot of times it runs in families. You got people that are drinking alcohol, but maybe they would be better if they were honestly smoking weed. I mean, it's just, and a lot of people, they'd be better off if they didn't even drink, or they didn't do anything. So, and everyone's different, but it's just so many people, just they go through life and they just have no clue about nothing. And this is something where I think, if we have any chance as humanity, and we have any chance as a country, this is the area that has to be improved. I mean, forget uh making money and surviving off uh, dollar bills, and starting businesses, and all that crap. I mean, because none of that even matters if you don't have your health. You don't have anything. If you don't got health, you ain't got nothing. So it's like, that's what matters most, is just your physical, how you feel. Because if you ain't got that, and that ain't right, then nothing's gonna be right, and you ain't going to be right. Your kids aren't going to be right. So it's just going to be like, yeah, you got no chance. But if people had more wherewithal of that, and there has been more in the last so many years, like there's been more talk of like mental health and stuff. And like anxiety, depression, especially it's like COVID and 2020 and stuff. There has been more talk of it. It has, it's more prevalent nowadays. People weren't all messed up like 30 years ago like they are now for the most part. But it's just, the thing is, now you do have the internet, you do have the technology to know how and take care of yourself and fix things and work on things. But you still have so many people that don't do it or don't know how to do it or just far behind. And I just think that's got to be the number one thing right now that changes moving forward.
Yeah, dude, I hear you, and I'll try to take this like systematically, um, because originally what you were talking about was mostly stretching, which I completely. Here, let me preface all this. I'm going to put out things that I know, knowledge that I have, and then I'll explain why that knowledge is not working for me, and maybe people can uh, resonate with what I'm saying, and maybe we have similar wavelengths, and we can use that to help get ourselves out of certain slumps that human beings fall in and minds fall into, because it really is a mental issue. Discipline is a mental thing. It's yes, it's physical, but it starts with mental. If you whether you can lift a dumbbell 10 times isn't the issue. It's can you try to lift it once? Can you try to lift it a second time? After that, discipline comes. Like it's more of a mental thing. The blocks that are in place are mostly all mental. Most of the things that take practice you can do, and you can practice every day and eventually get to be able to do the thing that you strive to do, but usually your mental gets in the way. But let me point out, you were mentioning, stretching is huge, and I'll give it a little bit of a scientific spin that I don't think gets enough like run in, especially certainly not health class. That you're in health class and they just can't. It's almost like they're chomping at the bit to start talking to kids about sex, and that's all that almost
Yeah.
health class was ever about. Meanwhile, you have this intense. Like earlier, I was out on the trampoline with the kids, and like I was staring up at the sky, and you have you ever like looked through the fluid of your eye, and you can like see the like fluid in your eye when you're looking up or looking out?
Oh, like if you're just kind of like gazing out at the stars, like just looking up and just like, is that
Yeah,
what you
you
mean?
can.
Like,
Yeah, you can start to see like the fluid that's on the outside of your eye. You're like you are always looking through it, but you're not like because the way eyes are structured, you're not paying attention to it. But like it might work best just because I couldn't help but see it when I was staring up at the blue sky. Try it next time there's a blue sky out. Just try to look up at and try not to focus on anything, and you'll see like the fluid in your eye. But like what's really weird about it is like my kiddo Adrian, he was just like, "What are you looking at the?" Like he just saw me like looking and like kind of moving my eyes around because it's like you try to focus on something in the fluid in your eye, and when you go to look at it, it moves because your eye is moving, so you can't like stay still. But he automatically knew what I was doing. He's like, "Oh, dude, you're looking at the microbes and stuff on your eyes and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, how the hell do you know?" He's like, "Yeah, I do that too." But this is all to say, like the complexity of the human body is insane. For the things that we uh, pedestalize and focus on, is really just a shame that we're not more avid about just how amazing all facets of our body is, and we really are a organic machine. We're an organic machine. Everything that we run on is pneumatic and mechanical. We're not a digital machine. Um, and you were talking about stretching and all this stuff. I completely know about all the facets, a lot of the facets of why you should stretch, how you should stretch, the difference in ligaments. You know, you have mat, tendinous mats, like your back is, the tendons in your back are a flat mat, and in order to stretch that, it's really, you know, you almost like the grandma stretches. You know, you'll catch your grandma's doing this one. It's like they had better stuff going back then. That's like, you know, it's almost like hula hooping. But
Yeah.
you know, and then of course you got those ones and stuff. I understand like all more of the biology of it. And I'll just move on to certain things without stopping to explain my mental plight with it. But yeah, what's not touched on about a lot of that stuff is blood flow is huge, and flow of fluid in your body is huge. A lot of the tightness that you're talking about, of course, your nails right on the head. Of course, if you're building muscle and not stretching those tendons, those junctions where it goes from tendon to muscle, that's what you got. Also, people need to understand. You hear about these sports injuries, and what those are is, you know, when someone severely injures their back, really the main things that are injured are almost always the bursas or the spine itself. Whereas like your limbs, you're going to get a lot of injuries that have to do with your tendons and your muscles, because those are, like I explained, there's mat tendons, like tendinous mats that are really sturdy, really hard to injure. It's not hard to injure, but I mean it's like this whole thing. But whereas like your muscles, those are like these cylindrical things where it's like the tendon will be implanted into a spot in your bone by these little balls, these like balls that stick into your bone and hold the tendon there. And then the tendon will go out and it'll sprout out, and then the muscle will be held onto that tendon. So it's like learning about the biology is kind of important, because then you understand blood flow too. You understand that your muscles only get very, like the blood vessels that treat your muscles are very small in comparison to, or at least initially they're very small, like say the average person that treat that eventually, because you think of your muscles, they're red because they have blood flowing through them, whereas your tendons are white. There's like a very few channels in your tendons that it's really like, think of it, it's like proteins, and it's like cuticles. It's like that kind of stuff. There's not like vessels running through them necessarily. Just they're really just there to service your muscles. But yeah, if you don't have the correct blood flow, if you don't have good blood flow, that's another huge issue. You're not only in building the said muscle, but also you're going to get that tightness in when you're, you know, not, and especially if you're not stretching the correct muscles that you already touched on this. You hit it right on the head. You got to practice. The information's at your fingertips. It's like you can go doom scroll on TikTok for another hour, or you could look up an hour worth of stretches and try to follow them. And you know, which is going to be more beneficial for you. It's pretty obvious. But apart from that too, that kind of lends into when I talk about blood flow and like fluid flow in your body. One thing that's like almost nobody's teaches about, I certainly didn't really learn about it in school, is part of your endocrine system, which is like your waste system. People just don't even pay any mind to your lymphatic system. It is one of the most important. It is as far as I can tell, it's the most important. The only reason why like your cardiovascular system is more important is because like if your heart stops, you're cooked. But apart from that, your endocrine, your lymphatic system is sitting on top or behind all of your blood vessels, and it goes alongside all your blood vessels, and at every major, and along the way there's lymph nodes. And these nodes are little, it's like if your body's the facility, like these are a bunch of like, it's like the security system. It's making sure each thing along the way, if there's, like think of the Titanic, like think of big, huge ships, like, how their holes and stuff, those are like sitting way above the water, and it's just like air filled things underneath. And so like think of like the Titanic, and they say the reason that it sunk is because it scraped along like 13 of its holes, and if it would have just hit it straight on, it wouldn't have sunk, because like it would have only punctured 2 of them. Well, it's kind of like that. You have like its function is so that there's not that large of a gap between the next lymph node, so that if anything does get in, say you have a cut or a scrape or a bacteria works its way through your skin or your one of your organs, or the platelet or whatever they call those, like the inner skin that you have, the flesh, there's a stop there for it to attack it, kill it, and get it out of your system. A lot of people, cancer has become such a generalized idea. People don't understand that cancer is cancer. Your lymphatic system failing is cancer. It's breast cancer, it's testicular cancer, they give you these names to make you think like these are individual cancers. Cancer is a thing. It is a illness. It is a thing. It is your lymphatic system not able to fight off an infection, a breach. It's a breach of your body. And that is one of the biggest problems health-wise. And more, I'm finding that at least somewhat it's coming out. Like exactly like you honestly hit these things right in order, like that I wanted to talk about it, which is hilarious, because you mentioned gut health, and obviously the standard eating habits of an American is leaves lots to be desired. But that's where it starts. And now you mentioned like results aesthetically, so like being skinny or fat. And there is that. Yes, obviously a fat person is going to be behind the 8 ball on everything. You're just behind the 8 ball on everything. Does that mean that you're cooked? No. In fact, fat stores, you can actually do a lot with fat stores if you were to start to get active, to a point where sometimes it's better to be fat than it would be to be skinny if you wanted to start a journey of like health. That's just how it is. But like you said, it's different for all, obviously there's lots of differences. But as far as like people just chalking everything up to metabolism or things of that nature or their family history, I think that's a huge mistake, because gut health is like the number one thing. People don't understand that what I just mentioned, your endocrine system, when it starts to fail, it's a slow failure. If cancer happens when there's a breach and it's major, and your body what's basically cancer is, it starts winning against the lymph nodes. Like the lymph nodes can pretty much take care of everything. It's like bleach to invaders. It just bleaches stuff and gets it the hell out of your body, and you don't really notice it. But if it starts to fail, it starts eating it basically turns the lymph node in on itself, and you can't have stuff invading your body. You can't have a bubble of air in your bloodstream. You'll die with a bubble of air. So just think about all those microbial issues that you have when you're pumping yourself full of oil, saturated fats and oils and all these things. This is not natural. There's nowhere for it to go. You can't poop 24/7. That's not how your bowels work. That's not how your body functions. It has to get something out of something. And if you force your body to run on sugar, guess what it's going to run on? Sugar. Is it going to last as long as the average person? Probably not. Now you mentioned smoking. I do think that those results will vary a lot based on fasting. I think what you'll find with a lot of smokers, especially like smokers, like you said, that smoke way into their life, that they don't eat nearly as much. And I think that's a bigger factor than the smoking is a negative factor. I think there's a bigger offset there. So that I think that's one thing to mention. But yeah, you guys do research on your endocrine system and your lymph nodes, and before you self-diagnose and think, you know, you go to the doctors and you get a terrible diagnosis or things of that nature, realize that this can all be changed by a dietary switch. Almost every single ailment in this world can be helped or fixed completely by dietary switches. It is, and I would say starting with a fast is the best way to do it. But kind of like resetting it's like before you upgrade your computer, you generally want to, anyway, no, that analogy was going nowhere, but anyway, the point being is I do think it's worth a reset to kind of like cleanse the palate, if you will, give your body a couple days to stop running on oil and sugar and be hungry for something. And then the next thing you give it is the thing it needs. And it's like, oh, I can process this like butter, baby. This is easy. This is what I was supposed to be doing. Because, the last thing you want is your body to reject the good because it's so used to the bad. And that does happen. That's one of the biggest deals with fat people overcoming, and not just fat people. It's really like bad health habits. So like caffeine addictions or like drug addictions to any addictions, really, your body will learn that substance and it'll say, okay, this is what I'm running on. It's like, damn, I get to see, that guy at the gym in the window. I wish I was that guy's body, but whatever. I can't really body switch. So I got to run on what you're giving me. So I'm going to do it. And we're going to run till the wheels fall off. And that's just how it is. And so you do train your body to work against its natural way. And so, like I said, a fast is a good way to at least give it a buffer period to where the next thing it does is obviously maintain the healthy habit after that too. But it'll have a reset period to where it's not just, it's also an act of discipline as well, because it's like you need to be in a state of being able to do it or else it won't happen. Just like anything else, discipline is so important. That leads into what I was talking about at the beginning, me and my discipline. Now I can sit here. I'm not trying to be above anybody. Nobody take that way. The way I was just talking, I wasn't trying to say that that's not me. That is me. That's what's so frustrating about it. You mentioned cigarettes, and now I've mentioned cigarettes. I was smoking since I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Very early on, was I stealing my mom's cigarettes and things of that nature and smoking, and it turned into my mom, helping me smoke cigarettes, or providing them for me, which, before I quit relatively recently, honestly, I quit right around the same time I found Zach's channel, interestingly enough. But yeah, I mean, it was the worst I've ever smoked. I was chain smoking, like absolute craziness. And what I wanted to say before is that maybe people can resonate with what I'm saying, is because I feel like it's worthy of, I feel like people are going through this and they, it just goes unsaid. They either conquer it or they don't, but even the ones that conquer it don't tell people how they conquered it. So there's no, record of it. So people don't even have any reference points on what they should do when they face these issues. But what helped me quit, and I think I've mentioned this on the channel too, but was really, it was frustrating because of how easy it was. But just in doing so, not to mention, I didn't just quit smoking. I was also smoking a lot of weed, and there is good and bad weed. I was smoking a lot of dabs, and that was like when you go down that, when you start only doing dabs, because it's like it's not good. You start to feel like a drug user. It goes from a thing that is like very like holistic to a thing that's very like back alley. So it's weird how that works. But I quit it all cold turkey. I was drinking a ton of coffee as well, and I quit caffeine. I do have caffeine nowadays, but I quit it for quite some time. Um, but I say all that because mentally I knew, off the back of being able to do that, it was a discipline that I had. I built a discipline saying, knowing I didn't need to smoke cigarettes anymore. Up until that point, I was so lost in my head and so lost thinking I could never stop smoking cigarettes ever. I didn't see the reason why I would. I didn't see how I could. I would trick myself out all day long. I mean, I would have terrible thoughts. I have 2 kids, and I'd be sitting here like just chain smoking, being like doom smoking, basically, just being like, I'm just killing myself. I want to be in my kid's life for as long as I can, but I'm just shortening it with every puff for just no reason. And I just don't see why I'm doing it. I just keep doing it and I can't stop. And, but once I quit, that has opened up a whole new can of worms because I know the discipline exists, but I can't tap back into it, and it's very frustrating. Earlier, when we first met up and everything, I had just started to finally get to a better track, getting back into shape. I would say like 3 or 4 months before I met you, I maybe more than 3 months, 4 or 4, maybe half a year before I met you. I was in such good shape, dude. I was in some of the best shape of my life. I was eating one meal a day. I would make cabbage. I made this Thai chili sauce. I still make it. You should try it one time. But anyway, I would just have rice, cabbage, and Thai chili sauce. I would have one meal a day. Sometimes I would mix in a protein because I was still eating meat at that point. But and I was and just going to play basketball, just generally being active, and I was in such good shape. And this is the part I want to resonate with people. It's like this nightmarish thing that it's kind of haunting, is the slow and steady decline. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, wow, it snuck up on me. That's not how it happened. I don't think that's how it's happening to anyone else either. I really think that it's a normalization that society does. And so people will fall into that and say, oh yeah, that's how it happened for me too. Oh, and it's, like everybody getting caught with their pants down. They'll be like, oh, everybody, oh, accident, oopsie, oopsie. And then, it's easier to go with the crowd and it's easier if 10 people show up late to a class than you be walking in at the only one late. You know what I mean? So misery loves company. That's basically what I'm saying. But I don't think that that's true. I think individually, everybody knows they pass themselves in the mirror. They see their defined stomach stop being defined slowly but surely. They feel the lethargy set in. They feel the less energy. They feel all those things, and they're just not honest about it. And that's what it was for me. I had like the best I could tell is that it's like the devil, a demon, it's possession, because it's like in my head I was fighting the concept of being lethargic and being low energy and letting what I had worked for slip away. But it's like I put this expectation and thing on me that gave me an excuse to say, no, you're being too hard on yourself. Stop. You can back off here. You can back off there. And you have this weird mental struggle. And dude, it's ever since then, I've just been slowly and steadily like gaining. And I just cannot get back into a good mode, working out consistently, stretching consistently. I know exactly what you're talking about. Do I want to be 50 and barely be able to move, that's the track I'm headed towards. It's crazy. It's like the same thing with smoking. I knew where I was headed and I just didn't have the discipline to stop it. And I'm here again. Now I'm here again with like my body physically. And I really want to break out of it. And I'm just being completely honest, guys. I hope that this resonates with some people because it's not the easiest thing for me to just admit. Because for my whole adult life, I've been in good shape. When I was a kid, I was a little fatty. But my adult life, I've been in good shape almost my whole adult life. Maybe I had a little bit of some pudge put on during a winter here and there. I'm talking 5-7 pounds. Um, Other than that, I've been very good shape my whole adult life, and I'm getting to this point now where it's like I really feel the dad bod societal normalization setting in my head. And nah, dude, I don't want to be there for a million reasons. But more than just me saying I don't want to be there, I am the reason I'm there. I'm not taking that away from me. I am the problem. It's just, yeah, it's like this motivation issue. It's a excuse issue, all sorts of different issues. And you said it, health and mental health are one and the same, really. You can't have one without the other, good or bad. And right now I'm dealing with both because of the other. Like literally I have bad mental health because I see myself deteriorating and it messes my, you know, it messes with my I want to make it sex oriented here, but yeah, there's a manliness to it. I'm sorry. But there's like the way I feel about it is there's like a manliness aspect that I'm losing because I'm like succumbing to softening basically. And it's been really hard. And so yeah, any tips that you can give me, any tips you guys have out in the comments. I don't know if you guys are going through this too. Maybe it can be cathartic for you to explain your situation semi-anonymously in the comments or hit us up in an email to keep this idea going. But yeah, when you said you wanted to be a personal trainer, first of all, yeah, I know you. So that would be one of my top 5 jobs that I would ever suggest that you do. But the top number 1 job I would suggest you do is be my personal trainer. Dude, it's just, it sucks to admit it, but it is something that I do feel like I can't do on my own. And it sucks to it. That's really hard for me to admit. I'm not even joking, guys. I'm sorry. It's actually kind of giving me chills saying that crap because, yeah, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of great points. Yeah, and I like, and like I said, everybody's, health is different, and that's the crazy magical thing of it. Like I said, you got, everyone does things differently. There's people that, they'll smoke, like I said, then they'll have no health problems, and they'll smoke cigarettes all day and drink Mountain Dew and eat McDonald's, and they'll be healthy as fuck or skinny and live to be 90, 100 years old. And then someone else does all that and they're dead by 30, 40 years old. So it's, health is different for everybody. It's weird. It's a strange topic. It definitely can be. And like I said, people, when, smoking was a big thing. And like when I was younger, like in the 90s, and I think that's like 90s, early 2000s, when they changed the law where you can't smoke inside places anymore. I mean, you could make, and I remember that I used to get secondhand. I was around secondhand smoke all the time. I've never smoked a cigarette my whole life, but I had so much smoke I was around, because back then, that's how it was. I was around everyone that smoked, and everywhere you went in was filled with smoke. That used to be how it was. And people back then did seem healthier and happier. So, I mean, is it good or bad? I'm not even going to say. Life is crazy. It's hard to really know what's up, what's down a lot of times. And like I said, for me, I've always just smoked weed. I'll smoke out a pipe, or like I've recently started like vaping weed a little bit. So like either or, but For me, I get a lot. For me, a lot of people, it says that they'll say it makes them lazy. For me, it's the like exact opposite. Like it gets me more motivated and inspired when I actually do it, and I get way more creative and stuff. But everyone's different. Like, I mean, I could, go home, like smoke a bowl and do workout stretches, and then go smoke again, then eat supper and go to bed. It's just like other people that they'll smoke and they it's just too much for them and they don't like it. But like I said, everybody's different. But um, yeah, and it's just like, for me, it's like sometimes too, like I'll be doing really well, or I'll kind of push myself, and then like, I'll injure myself or I'll mess myself up, and then it's like, oh, I gotta, sometimes I can be a little too stubborn. I want to, like I said, go to the gym and push, and like I said, lately I've been having to like refrain from doing like a lot of upper body stuff. I haven't really, bench was going really great and stuff, but I haven't benched in like a month, because my shoulder and stuff. I know I can't really be doing that, and been trying to do like even like bicep, tricep stuff, but I know like even that kind of hurts and messes me up, and I can't do like any overhead pressing. So I've kind of had to remove that the last few weeks to months. So I know I've gotten like weaker in those areas, and I got to, go back and rebuild it because it wasn't what it was. And I know I'm losing it even right now because I just kind of got to refrain from doing it. And that's just, that can be kind of discipline too. And kind of, that kind of anxiety, depression, like, because I have it all the time where like it's muscle, uh, um, can't think of it right now, but where you muscle memory, where you build it, you lose it, you build it, you lose it. It's just like that this whole year. Like I've had little things happen where I gotta, work out and then stop working out or go light and then, lose the muscle, and then it just kind of gets all weird and kind of flabby, and then you got to build it back and, redo it again. So it'll come right back because, once you build it, you got it, it's just reusing it again and getting back into it and stuff. And that's a lot of it too. And um yeah, and I think like for me, like I'm not really that great with like fasting because like I'm personally just kind of always hungry. Uh, just like my body type, because I'm more skinny and lean, and that tends to make you always more hungry. And it's just like today, I kind of today has kind of been a fast day. I mean, like I ate like last night, like probably like 7 o'clock or so, and then I didn't really eat till about like 11 or noon today, and then I had supper like around 6. So I've been kind of doing a fast lately, but I've kind of had a cold too, so I've kind of been somewhat fasting. But uh yeah, generally like fasting, I don't uh typically really do that or do it that well or whatever. It's kind of hard for me because like I'm always kind of hungry, but that's just kind of more me. I've always had a more skinny, lean body. I'm like what you would call like a hard gainer. Like you said, if you're trying to, build muscle, it's actually better to be thicker and fatter and more wider. So you build the muscle because you can just convert the fat to muscle, and then you just convert it over because you already have it, versus having to be skinny and not have anything, and then you have to build from scratch when you don't have nothing, and that's very hard. Like for me, like when I was started working out, I was like 139, 140 pounds when I was like 17. Um, in 13 years, I've put on 30 pounds and 13 years of muscle. And, it was extremely hard to put on that 30 pounds. I had to work very hard to put on 30 pounds. I'd love to gain like another 30 and be like 200. That would be, I don't want to be I don't want to be ridiculous and be jacked and roided and all that, but like a lightly jacked would be kind of nice, more muscle mass. But, um, yeah, everyone's different. It's like, my BMI could say, like I'm 5'9", 170. It'll say I'm actually overweight, or I'm fat, but, it's not even true at all. It's the exact opposite. So you can't really rely on that either, because that's not going to tell you anything. It doesn't equate for muscle mass and weight distribution and stuff like that. So some people, I mean, it's, everyone's built differently, and everyone just is good at different things. And so everybody's body and health is different, and um, how you kind of go about stuff kind of just depends on you. It's just um, like in your situation too. Like for just like working out and stuff. It's just a lot of it like now like I said, I'm kind of reduced to what I've been doing. Just in the last few weeks, just like in the last month since my shoulder's been hurting, because like I'd be still working out and benching, trying to do overhead and stuff, and like August I felt great, and deadlift and squat and everything was way up, and it still is, but now I'm still kind of limited to like what I'm doing and what I'm working out. So like I said, like the next 2 days, it's gonna be nice. I'll go run, later in the day, like 5 o'clock. I'll go do some running, spend some time at the trampoline park this weekend. Probably do 1 or 2 days at the gym this weekend. Go and do some legs, do some deadlifts, some squats, that type of stuff, and just kind of take it easy while I do, little workouts and stretches at home too and stuff. And I think that's kind of just how you have to be about it. It's just whatever you feel like you need to kind of work on and um, improve. It's not, so much about, just kind of jumping in to do something, but kind of, like for some people, just I even just going for a walk could be huge. Just walking. I mean, that's a huge one right there. Maybe walking backwards, because that'll help your knees. If you walk backwards, that could be more beneficial. Maybe that's what someone might need more than just walking forward. Maybe they just do some backwards walking, and that'll help their knees out or something. So, or walking just forward, or just walking. If you walk, I always say, like, if you walk 5 miles a day, you'll be fine. But everyone's different. Maybe some people they need to gain weight. Me, I have a hard time gaining weight. I have an easy time losing weight, but I have a hard time gaining it and putting on mass and stuff. So everyone's different. So whatever your goals are, whatever you want to do, it's just I feel like it's just kind of one little thing at a time. If it's stretching, and like once you kind of feel, like if you need to just get that motivation, like I said, when I'm feeling motivated, I'm feeling good. I'm not sick, I'm not injured. That's a lot more motivating than when you do have problems and stuff, because it's like everything's just, it hurts, or it's you got to deal with the physical problem you're having, or maybe you got other issues, so that kind of gets in the way of what you're doing, so it kind of pushes you back. And there's different, everyone's struggles different things. Certain people, it's like they're just like good at cardio, or maybe cardio is more of their thing, maybe weights is more of their thing, maybe just working out in calisthenics would be better for you, or maybe just a mixture. Like I said, like when we went to the trampoline park, and now you got your trampoline and stuff there too. I mean, that's, like I said, that's a perfect mixture, because that's like cardio, but it's also builds muscle. So you're losing weight and building muscle. It's even trampolines are more effective than even running. Because running, depends on what you're doing. Like sprints are good for like building muscle, while as like long distance, that's gonna make you lose weight, obviously, and lose muscle and lose stuff like that. So you know trampolines can be more beneficial, I feel, in certain ways, and they can work on your body and your knees and your core and your legs and all that stuff. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what you need to do, but a lot of it is just it's that, like you said, the discipline is huge. And discipline for not just doing it, but also to make sure if something is wrong, or something is messed up, not to do it. Even when I sprained my back too, I was wondering, I was like going to the gym, all I could do at that point was kind of just do like heavy leg press, because I couldn't do really deadlifts or back or squat or bench or anything, because my back was messed up. But like I'd still be kind of going hard on legs and leg press, because that's all I could do. And I was like, I had to like catch stuff. I'm like, you still don't want to mess up your back. You don't want to go too hard, go too much. So it's like, even there, it's like you kind of got to know when and where to draw the line with stuff. And um yeah, it's something where I feel like everyone's in a different spot, and with their health and what they need to do. And um like you said, I mean, I'm not really much, like I said, I'm not into the fasting and stuff. And sometimes lately I kind of have been last couple days and stuff. And there's certain things here or there, I can still work on and improve and add and stuff too. And um but I think it's a lot of it is just it's either the discipline to do it or to not do it, or what you need to do to focus to get yourself healthy, so you do feel like doing more. You don't want it that where things just start adding up, and just like I said, like kind of we're just everything's injured. And then when your whole body's screwed up, or you got so many injuries, you got to then you're going to be depressed, and you're going to have anxiety, because you're just going to not be able to really do anything, or worry about making all of a sudden you got a couple injuries, and now you're all messed up. Then if you try and do something, now you're going to be more injuries, and now you're really going to be screwed. So it's like you just, sometimes you're down, and you just got to realize when you're down, and just accept that you're down and then work your way back up. And, you know, it ends because everything's different and everybody's different. And once you find out like what kind of works for you, like to get in a, like I said, just to get in a routine of something, or maybe it's, you know, maybe it's a sequence, you know, some people, if they're too sore, or, you know, they're putting too much time in, it's just that it's, you know, you're too sore to do anything, then that could also kind of push you back. So you kind of have to, you know where to draw the line. Like you don't want to do something that's too physically taxing where, you know, now you're going to be sore, you know, used up for like 2 weeks and you can't even like barely move your body because, you know, it's like, well, how often can I do that then? You know, so you kind of have to just take it bit by bit. But yeah, I think it just comes down to, you know, whatever the person really wants to and what they need to do. I mean, and then just like I said, just start applying little things, you know, whether it's stretches, workouts, calisthenics, or if they're trying to, like I said, build muscle or lose weight, um, or if something's bothering them, what they need to focus on. I think that's what really matters most. And it's, if more people just had an idea of how their body actually work, like you were saying, like, um, with your stomach, and, you know, how most people eat and what, you know, your process, stuff like that. Obviously that's very important. And, um, you know, if you're trying to gain weight, you know, eat more. If you're trying to lose weight, eat less, stuff like that. I mean, uh, yeah, certain things with health are kind of easy, simple, basic stuff, but other things can be more complex. But yeah, I feel like a lot of things, for the most part, can either be, um, just fixed, just based off your body itself. You know, you don't need to go to a doctor, you don't need a surgery. You just do some stretching, just some little workouts, and can make all the difference in the world, really.
Yeah, and luckily, I mean, I do have my son who is beginning to be more motivated in those areas. So, you know, leaning on him to, you know, be my workout partner, that's been helpful. And but still, I got a ways to go, and I have goals that I'm not even close to achieving, and with consistency. And yeah, I don't mean to sound like I'm defeatist either. I'm definitely not. Uh, it's just trying to be honest and trying to be transparent about, you know, the thoughts and the things that are kind of winning out. Um, like I said, it's tough to admit because like I know what it takes, and I know what I need to do, and you know, I think maybe there even is something to being able to admit what you're not able to do at the moment, so as to kind of identify what, you know, more clearly what it's going to take in order for you to do it. But no, those are, it's good suggestions and everything like that, and trampolining it while I can is definitely on my list before the weather gets too bad. Um, and it's something I was doing a lot more recently too. And then for whatever reason, I haven't been trampling nearly as much. I did today, but uh, yeah. And you know, I hate to say it, but it's like I'm not result oriented necessarily either. I don't get caught up in like because it doesn't happen right away. I'm not. It's not like the kind of person I am. It's just this weird thing where it's like I don't even get started. It's like I have this weird mechanism built in to just like stop me from even pushing for past that like second level, to where it just makes that first level easier to give up on every time. And it's it's frustrating, but I'm only frustrated with myself. I know it's like an inward issue that I need to find the strength to push past, because man, it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah,
So
I think a big thing is, you know, keeping something, you know, keeping things kind of short and sweet, because anyone can go through something if they can see the other side of the, you know, the light at the other side of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like if it's not, you know, like if I had to wake up, like I said, the next 2 days and know I had to run like 40, 50 miles, I'd be like, I'm not fucking running no 40, 50
Hmm.
miles. I'm going to be dead. I'm going to lose fucking 50 pounds. I'm going to be walking around like 100 pounds. Like, I don't want that. I'm not doing that. So, like, no, I'm going to keep it to like 5, 6 miles where like that's something I can do in like, 30, 40 minutes. And then I'm going to be like, yeah, that's something I can stick to. I can work with that. It's like if I'm going to the, trampoline park, I'm not, I could maybe spend more time there and I could go, you know, do that more. I can go to the gym and I can spend this amount of time here. If I'm, uh, like if I'm doing a workout at home, like calisthenics, okay, I'm going to do, abs for like 10 minutes, it's okay. And then I'm going to, cause like everything else is kind of somewhat using your abs and your back. And then I'm gonna do like, 10 minutes for my back here and like, you know, 10, 20 minutes on stretching, I think that's kind of a lot of it too. It's just the time of stuff, not to, you know, make it seem like it's got to be, you got to spend so much time with it. It's just, just doing like keeping things consistent, but keeping it short and consistent, and just doing things consistently in short amounts. Uh, where it's not like where you're going into it feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I'll be doing this for hours. No, it's only going to be like 10 minutes. It's going to be, done before you know it. And then, and then maybe do something else for 10, 20 minutes and maybe something else for another 10, 20 minutes. Then the next thing you know, an hour went by and, you did all these little things, but, you kept it short and sweet. And, I think when you keep it short and sweet, it's a lot easier to work through it than to overwhelm yourself knowing it's not a marathon. You don't want to be overdoing it, just and that, overdoing it, that leads to injuries and problems too. And that'll make you not want to do something as well. It's like, I'll be feeling great. I'll be at the gym. I'll be setting, new PRs. The next thing I know, I injure myself or I messed myself up or something like that. It's like, that's usually how it happens. Or it's, I just do something kind of random and and I mess myself. Then I got to recover from that. It's just like, that can also get to you. So it's like, as long as you keep it like to something that is reasonable and just, real short and sweet, and just give you like that quick little, like, oh, that was nice. That was easy. That was, simple, little stretches here, a little workout here. As long as you do it in little increments at a time and just keep it consistent, I think that's a huge part of it as well. And like I said, if you want to do, add more time or add different things or do different things different days, maybe, space it out or whatever you want to work on, focus on. I think that plays a huge role too, as to what you're doing. You don't have to drive yourself into the ground with it or, overwhelm yourself, because that obviously can happen.
Yeah, I'll keep that definitely in mind, and that is something I've tried to do. And when I was doing it, that is definitely how I was doing it too. So that's great advice. Because yeah, I was just doing bursts of working out, and I was able to do that at least twice a day because I kept it simple and relatively easy for what I could do, um, without trying to add a bunch more weight or um, do a bunch more reps. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, the journey, they like to call it, bears some fruit, and I can end up being a uh, a beacon for, because it's not like people in worse off situations than me might. Don't do that, guys. Don't compare situations to where you don't, to where you like minimize the strife of somebody else necessarily. Not with everything. Um, but don't look at me and say like, oh, I got 2 kids. Oh, I got, health is a big deal to me, and when I'm failing with it and I'm being honest about it, and don't rest on your laurels, and don't give yourself those excuses, because that's a slippery slope, and that's going to get keep you in the dark, and that's where I'm at right now. So I, you know hopefully we can do the best we can to uplift each other and out of this uh, collectively, because yeah, like I was saying, I'm not like so far gone, but it doesn't. That's like telling somebody who weighs 130 now, if you had the hindsight to see that they end up weighing 350 in 2 years, telling them, oh, don't worry about your weight when they weigh 130. It's just like, you don't, I'm not counting myself out. I'm not saying my mental couldn't, I would assume my mental couldn't deteriorate that bad, but it sucks knowing where it is right now. So knowing where it is right now, knowing what I've been able to do, quitting smoking, drinking, caffeine, weed all at once, you know, finally beating that dragon, if you will, and now being where I'm at, where I feel like this, I don't know, I just feel like I'm not in control. That's the best way I could put it. And yeah, it's something you should strive to be in your life. It not, you know, control is not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, guys, take that as a the first, like, the free trial for Austin's physical.
Workout program.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. So everyone after this will be behind a paywall.
Yeah.
No, but hopefully you guys resonate with what we talked about today. Feel free to share your stories in the comments, or give us an email if you guys want to continue the discussion in a broader sense. Hit us up in the email. Let us know if you want to join one of these, and it's always open to anybody who reaches out, pretty much. And but yeah, until next week, keep an eye on that NFL game. If you know, you know. Yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. And yeah, have a good one, guys.
Peace.